It all started when a goddess gave him a quest. The mission was simple: save a dying world. Kang Hanbit gave it everything he had, but it wasn't enough. He's the last one standing on a battlefield full of monsters. His legs finally give out and he hits the dirt. Hanbit is completely covered in blood and arrows. His body won't move an inch. He collapses face first into the ground. He's just so damn tired of the fighting. All he wants to do is close his eyes for a bit. Just a quick rest. Then the system notification hits: status deceased. The list of his past lives scrolls by: 31 regressions, 17 possessions, and 7 reincarnations. That's 55 cycles of absolute hell. Hanbit wakes up floating in the void, already swearing at the sky. Another cycle down the drain after suffering like a dog. A foot lands right on his head as a voice comments on how long that run lasted. He looks up, not even trying to hide his annoyance. Standing over him is the goddess, looking as regal and expressionless as ever. Hanbit's had enough of her games and starts screaming. She doesn't even flinch at his outburst. This is the same being that kidnapped him from Earth in the first place. He can't even remember when it happened anymore. She just tossed him into a new world and told him to save it. Then the endless loop of death started. Every single life ended in a new, gruesome way. 55 times he's felt his life fade away. He died over and over without ever finding a single clue about the quest. He points a finger at her and tells her to find the stupid world herself. She says that's impossible, but Hanbit's mental state is already at the breaking point. The goddess claims his physical and mental restoration is working perfectly. Her system basically stitches him back together every time he dies. But it doesn't erase the memories of the pain, and that's what's driving him crazy. She asks if he wants to try another regression. He tells her to get lost. He screams in frustration when she refuses to listen to his demands. Then she tells him she was just joking. Hanbit freezes, completely caught off guard. She says he's fulfilled his role and earned the right to go home. He's shocked he failed 55 times, and now she's just letting him go. She tells him the journey was more important than the result. Before he can ask anything else, his body starts to glow and vanish. He's being kicked out of the void and back to his original world, whether he likes it or not. The goddess bids him farewell, genuinely curious to see what he'll do back on Earth. A blinding flash of light consumes everything. Kang Hanbit jolts awake in his room to his mom shouting that she's heading off to work. He sits up, clutching his head as a massive hangover sets in. It's been 18 months since his return, and the memories of the real world are finally starting to stick. The veteran drags himself out of bed, still feeling like a total zombie. The apartment is quiet, and he wonders if everyone else has already left for the day. He spots his old military camo in the laundry, a reminder of the life he just finished. Hanbit pours himself some water, still fuming over how the goddess snatched him up right before his original enlistment. Counting all his past lives, this was actually his 6th time serving in the military. Adapting to modern life is a nightmare, and he's already stressed about his upcoming internship. His phone starts buzzing on the table, snapping him out of his spiraling thoughts. He answers with a groan, telling whoever it is that he's already on his way. It's a text from his buddy asking if he's down to hit the bars again. He sends back a tired cat sticker, telling the guy he's way too old for another bender. The friend starts poking fun at him, asking if he's chickening out already. Hanbit sighs, knowing he can't stay mad for long. Ju Yeon-woo looked out for him when he first returned and got drafted, so he feels like he owes the guy. The younger guy pivots, claiming he's actually got a discharge present waiting for him. Hanbit's interest is piqued, and he finds himself wondering what the catch is. He meets up at a cafe, and someone immediately shouts for him from across the room. It's Yeon-woo, a guy 5 years younger who somehow ended up being his senior in the army. He's already ordered a massive parfait, looking completely fine despite their night out. The veteran sits down and gets straight to the point. He wants to know about this present. When the kid stalls, Hanbit stands up to leave, but he's quickly pulled back. Yeon-woo slides over a membership card for a game called Record Project. It's a level 2 card, the kind that comes with high-end VR gear for home play. Hanbit is stunned to learn the thing costs 5 million won, but the kid insists it's a gift. He winks, telling him it's really no big deal. Hanbit's attitude flips instantly. He's ready to be this kid's personal guard dog for that kind of money. He admits he's just joking since he's got a job starting tomorrow and no time for games. Yeonwoo looks at him with total disbelief. Hanbit explained with a dead serious face that he believed he should go out there and get a real, decent job instead of wasting his life away on some video games. Hanbit snaps and grabs him by the hair when the kid tells him he has zero sense of romance. The younger guy keeps hollering, claiming he could strike it rich if he actually played the game. He mentions players making hundreds of millions of won, and Hanbit freezes. He sits back down, suddenly very interested in the conversation. He immediately drops the act and asks for all the details. Yeonwoo explains that a massive uproar started recently after a secret will was revealed. The founder promised to hand over the entire company to the first person who clears the game. Now massive companies are pouring money into strategy teams, and guidebooks are selling for insane prices. Even so, there's still hope for solo players to make a name for themselves. Those are some absolutely crazy terms coming from a guy like Michael Welton. Ju Yeonwoo is absolutely thrilled that Hanbit is actually willing to give the game a shot. Seeing his friend's enthusiasm, Hanbit figures he can at least try one session. The younger man doesn't want to waste any time and suggests they head out immediately. They arrive at the special event zone, where the sky is clear and the hype is palpable. Hanbit is immediately overwhelmed by the sheer size of the crowd gathered for the event. Yeonwoo had to grab him by the scruff of the neck to make sure they didn't get separated in the sea of people. Yeonwoo stops at a stall, insisting that a beginner's guidebook is an absolute necessity. He explains that the game's difficulty curve is legendary and unforgiving to those who go in blind. The guidebook is apparently written by a top player, and Yeonwoo swears it's the only reason he's survived this long. Hanbit takes the ornate book, skeptical about whether a simple guide could really be that important. The moment he opens the cover, a blinding light pours out from the pages, shocking him to his core. A spectral vision of the goddess appears within the glow, her voice echoing with a chilling sense of anticipation. Hanbit stares at the book in disbelief as a mysterious prompt appears, tasking him with finding something called Airport. For 2 years, Kang Hanbit has been stuck on one question, replaying a specific voice in his head. He wonders why the goddess let him go in the first place. He grips the book. She never actually intended to let him walk away. Yeonwoo's shout snaps him out of his head. Ju Yeonwoo asks if he's worried it'll be too hard, but Hanbit has a serious question. He points to the Record Project guidebook and asks what he knows about the developer, Team Zero. Yeonwoo explains that they're a mystery, with only their CEO ever appearing in public. Hanbit gets suspicious. He wonders why a goddess would be connected to a video game. He closes his eyes, trying to make sense of it all. He can still see the sparks and smell the smoke. That world the goddess sent him to wasn't just some game. He remembers the weight of the sword and the feeling of taking his first life. And then the cold sensation of dying for the first time. The goddess just looked down at him and called him a failure. He wonders if he's walking back into that same hell. But maybe this is how he finally puts an end to the torment. Hanbit holds up his membership card and asks how long it'll take to get the gear. Yeonwoo grabs his phone to set up the companion apps, saying the delivery will take 2 hours. He notices Hanbit already crumpled the book and asks if he's actually buying it. Yeonwoo heads off, telling Hanbit to give him a shout once his account is ready. Hanbit waves him off, knowing that hurrying won't make the delivery any faster. He gets home just as the package arrives. He lugs the box inside, thinking about how this console costs over 5 grand. He unboxes the gear, headset, sensors, and cables. He sits on the bed, inspecting the sensors. He locks his door, making sure he has enough time before his mom gets home. He snaps a sensor onto his wrist, better safe than sorry. Fully geared up, Hanbit lies back as the system starts to hum. The screens light up, scanning his biometrics and brainwaves to link him to the game. He materializes in the digital void, surprised by how real the environment feels. He tries to open the customization menu to tweak his look, but nothing pops up. He wonders if it's a bug and starts looking for an exit button. He taps at the floating system screen. A red warning flashes, character creation failed. The screen glitches as the system detects an existing character. Hanbit yells for it to wait. A massive welcome screen appears. He wonders if this is another one of the goddess's tricks. The system forces the login, dragging him into the game. His new body starts to materialize, clad in adventurer gear. He's greeted by the sound of seagulls over the water. He finds himself standing on a pier in Port City, Edlin. It's been a while. He catches a glimpse of himself in a window reflection. He stops dead when he sees his face. It's him, exactly as he looked during his final regression. Kang Hanbit stares at his reflection, wondering if this is a direct message from the goddess. All he can see is the blood on his hands from those 55 lifetimes of struggle. It's like she's mocking him, forcing him to start over in the very world he tried so hard to leave behind. A loud notification chime breaks the tension. Yeonwoo is spamming him with friend requests. Hanbit sighs, already exhausted by his friend's relentless energy. He pulls up the menu and sees Loper waiting for him to hit accept. Before he can even process the menu, a familiar voice yells out his name. Yeonwoo appears in a flash of sparkles, looking like a stereotypical high-level gamer. Hanbit knows immediately it's him. His friend is apparently going for the most luxurious avatar possible today. Yeonwoo asks why he didn't customize his look, and Hanbit just brushes it off as some kind of glitch. Then Yeonwoo brings up his nickname, and Hanbit realizes he didn't even get to pick one. He opens his profile and freezes. The system gave him the most cringeworthy name possible, Black Dragon. He looks like he's about to cry, while Yeonwoo loses it laughing in the background. Hanbit grabs him, demanding to know how to change it, but Yeonwoo explains that usernames are hard-locked to your biometrics. He's stuck with it forever, and the sheer embarrassment is already starting to rot his brain. He puts Yeonwoo in a headlock to shut him up, but his friend tells him he needs to check his latest notification. Another window pops up, and Hanbit's expression shifts from rage to confusion. It's a request to broadcast his gameplay live on Loper's stream. Yeonwoo explains that he streams regularly on the game's built-in platform, and that the fans would love a duo. He even offers a generous profit split, promising Hanbit a massive cut if they manage to go viral. Hanbit stays quiet for a second, weighing his dignity against his empty bank account. He figures he doesn't have much of a choice if he wants to pay his rent. Yeonwoo doesn't give him a second to change his mind and pulls him toward the virtual camera. "What's up, everyone?" Yeonwoo shouts, introducing the legendary Black Dragon to his live audience. The viewers immediately start flooding the chat, mostly to mock Hanbit's edgy username. One comment calls him an earthworm instead of a dragon, and Hanbit's eye starts to twitch. Yeonwoo tells him to ignore the trolls and focus on the fact that they're finally getting paid. Hanbit forces himself to calm down and asks what the next move is. The system scans Hanbit's profile and recommends 3 starter skills: basic fire magic, alchemy, and swordsmanship. Hanbit thinks back to the techniques he mastered over 55 regressions. If he can use even a fraction of them here, he'll be unstoppable. He reaches out and selects one of the skill cards. Yeonwoo leans in, excited to see what kind of basic skill his friend starts with. But instead of a simple notification, the entire screen explodes in a blinding light. A massive pillar of glowing data erupts into the sky, drawing the attention of everyone nearby. Both of them stare up in total shock, wondering what the hell just happened. The stream chat is going absolutely wild as the system starts to glitch under the weight of his choice. Golden icons flood the screen, sparkling with high-tier potential. Yeonwoo's eyes nearly pop out of his head, while Hanbit stays completely unfazed. The stream chat is already erupting with hack accusations and bug reports. Yeonwoo grabs him by the shoulder, demanding to know how he triggered this. He's staring at the display like he's just seen a ghost. Hanbit just looks back, wondering why he's making such a scene. Yeonwoo is literally gasping for air. He finally finds his voice. These are hidden skills, and they're everywhere. The menu is loaded with icons that normal players never even see. Chat is losing its collective mind, calling Hanbit a lucky noob. Yeon-woo is vibrating with excitement, but Hanbit just brushes it off as a simple suggestion. Of course, Hanbit knows exactly what every single one of these does from his past lives. He reaches out and makes his first choice. To him, these skills are just the first few steps on a long, painful climb. He needs to figure out how much this world has changed since the last time he was here. He's looking for the truth behind the goddess's twisted game. He starts with fire magic, the most standard choice for a fresh start. Selection finished, Hanbit asks where they can pick up some quests. Yeon-woo can't believe he's actually going with magic. The viewers are already clowning on him, calling it a waste of time. Yeon-woo explains that in this game, magic is considered absolute trash. It all comes down to the proficiency system, which is a brutal, invisible grind. You can't even tell how close you are to leveling up until you hit the max. The stream is full of veterans warning him he'll regret this in a few months. Hanbit remembers the rainy days and the broken staves of his first life. He knows that pure talent isn't enough to master anything here. Finding the right teacher is what actually matters. Yeon-woo is totally lost. Modern players don't use masters anymore. Hanbit insists he needs someone to teach him, while the chat mocks his old-school approach. Yeon-woo plays it up for the camera, laughing at how clueless his friend is. He explains that these days, you just get skill books from completing quests. It's way more convenient, but Hanbit knows it's also a hollow way to grow. He flashes back to his old training, exhausted and crawling on the ground. His master didn't have a shred of pity, telling him there was still a mountain left to learn. Shaking off the memory, Hanbit follows Yeon-woo toward the general store. He mentions the merchant, Julio, and his voice carries a sharp edge of hatred. Yeon-woo is taken aback, wondering why Hanbit is so hostile toward an NPC. Hanbit calls Julio out for exactly what he is, a total villain and a fraud. The viewers think it's just Hanbit being dramatic, joking about the guy's looks. Suddenly, a donation chime rings out. A viewer using the name Julio just sent some money to mock them. Yeon-woo flips into his professional streamer mode, thanking the swindler for the donation. Hanbit asks if the money is real, and Yeon-woo confirms he just made an easy 501. Hanbit acts surprised for the stream, playing his part perfectly. Hanbit questioned if 1001 was even worth his time, but Yeon-woo didn't budge. Business is business. Seeing how nonchalant his friend was about the cash, Hanbit took it a step further, joking that if they were both drowning, he'd rescue the pile of money first without a second thought. The chat is already trolling Yeon-woo, valuing his life at less than $1. Yeon-woo gets things back on track, pointing out that Julio is their best bet for fire magic. He urges Hanbit to stop stalling and get moving. But Hanbit has his own plan. He's looking for a specific magic master from his past. The interface displays Atsubal, a character he hasn't seen in a very long time. Just seeing her name brings back a flood of heavy memories. Yeon-woo thinks Hanbit is just deep into his roleplay and warns him not to take the bit too far. To most players, Atsubal is just a throwaway NPC used for a single quest. In the standard game route, she's framed for a crime and basically disappears from the world. Hanbit decides that results matter more than words and suggests seeing her first. The viewers are starting to get frustrated with how stubborn the newbie is being. He finally relents, telling them they'll try the route the chat is actually asking for. The stream is hyped that he's finally listening to their feedback for once. Hanbit gives them a simple good as they set off toward Julio's shop. He even offers a sexy dance as a reward, which immediately sends the chat into a collective panic. He takes the lead, telling Yeon-woo to stay close. He knows the city's secrets better than anyone and heads straight for a shortcut. Yeon-woo is amazed he knows the layout of Port City Edland so well, but Hanbit just chalks it up to a gut feeling. They finally arrive at the front of Julio's shop. Through the window, they can see the merchant already waiting for his next victim. Julio greets them with a mask of pure greed and false kindness. Hanbit's fist clenches at the mere sight of him. The last time he saw this face, it was through the bars of a cold, damp prison cell. Yeon-woo explains that the game's freedom is so high that one wrong move with an NPC can ruin a character forever. Viewers agree that with such great freedom comes the very real risk of permanent failure. Yeonwoo notices the dark look in Hanbit's eyes and starts to get genuinely worried. But Hanbit doesn't stop, his boots thudding against the floor as he approaches the shop. He bursts through the entrance with zero hesitation. He stalks toward the counter, looking like a man on a mission for revenge. Julio is still putting on his act, welcoming the customer with a fake cheery laugh. Suddenly, Hanbit reaches across the counter and grabs the merchant by the neck. He pulls him close, his voice dripping with years of stored-up resentment. He calls him a hopeless piece of trash, leaving the terrified Julio completely speechless. Hanbit stood over the counter, his expression unreadable and cold. Yeonwoo was completely floored. Even the stream chat was starting to lose it. Hanbit looked like a totally different person, radiating an intensity that didn't belong in a starter zone. Julio, the merchant, started sweating and begged Hanbit to let go of his hand. Hanbit didn't blink, his gaze locked onto the fat man with unnerving focus. Following a perfect 10-10 shakedown, he finally let the sleazy merchant catch his breath. Julio tried to play it off, claiming he'd just sold his very last spellbook. He put on a fake smile and offered to recommend another shop to the customer. But of course there was a catch. He needed a favor first. The merchant spun a sob story about a thief breaking in while he was dozing off. He pulled out a locket, claiming his rival, Atsubal, was the one behind the theft. He looked Hanbit in the eye and asked for help catching the criminal. A quest popped up, apprehend General Merchant Atsubal. The rewards looked like standard early game bait. The stream chat was split. Some thought it was a scam, while others just wanted to see Hanbit dance. Hanbit stared at the screen, disgusted that the game was using a lie like this as a quest. In his first life, Atsubal had been his true mentor and a total lifesaver. But because he was training under her, he ended up being the one sent to prison. Julio had framed him perfectly, using fake evidence to ruin his life. Back then, no amount of truth could save him from bribed soldiers. Hanbit kept his cool, asking what would happen to the person who supposedly stole the bag. Julio chuckled, saying that once they went to prison, they'd never come out. Hanbit's fist tightened until his knuckles turned white. The merchant leaned in, asking what his decision was. He urged Hanbit to hurry up and catch the thief already. Instead of leaving, Hanbit started trashing the shop, much to Yeonwoo's horror. "Shut up, you scammer," Hanbit muttered, reaching under the counter. He pulled out the stolen money bag Julio claimed was gone. A new quest triggered. Apprehend the scammer Julio. Julio's fake smile finally cracked. He realized he'd picked the wrong target. Before the guy could even finish an insult, Hanbit's boot connected squarely with his jaw. The force of the kick sent the merchant sprawling back into his own shelves. Yeonwoo and the viewers were stunned. They'd expected a quest, not a beatdown. The noise brought the town guards running, spears at the ready. Hanbit didn't move, watching them approach with cold, steady eyes. And just like that, the viewers were treated to a cutscene of the town guards hauling Julio off to jail. The guards tied Julio up and dragged him out of the shop as he screamed his innocence. In a matter of seconds, the scammer went from shop owner to prisoner. Hanbit watched them leave, his mind clearly somewhere else. He remembered fighting through these same guards in his past life, just to escape Julio's frame-up. He took a deep breath, trying to steady his nerves after the flashback. He looked down at the reward screen flickering in front of him. Quest cleared, he netted 500 gold and a new path leading to Atsubal's shop. The stream chat was demanding a game reset, convinced this was some kind of bug. But for Hanbit, it was exactly what he'd planned. Yeonwoo was still buzzing, shouting Hanbit's name like he'd just seen a ghost. He was dying to know how Hanbit managed to figure out the merchant's scam so perfectly. Hanbit knew there was no way he'd believe the truth about 55 past lives, so he started cooking up an excuse. He played it off casually, claiming he was just a huge fan of old-school fantasy novels. He told Yeonwoo that the whole setup was a total cliché from an out-of-print book he'd read years ago. The viewers loved the story and started dropping donations immediately. Yeonwoo didn't miss a beat, thanking the donors and hyping up Hanbit's natural deduction skills. Hanbit watched the chat scroll by, still finding the whole concept of professional streaming a bit bizarre. He figured he'd just let Yeonwoo handle the personality side of things, while he focused on the gameplay. Yonwoo was still in shock that a minor NPC like Atsubal was actually part of such a big secret quest. As they walked, Hanbit mentioned that once a crooked NPC gets caught, they're usually gone from the map for good. He knew that in most players' eyes, Atsubal was just a petty criminal because of the lies Julio had spread. They finally reached her shop, a quiet little place tucked away from the main town center. Hanbit thought about how unfair the situation was, knowing how much Atsubal would hate being treated like a thief. They walked in, and she immediately put them to work, telling them to move boxes if they weren't buying anything. She didn't have much patience for loiterers or anyone she thought was a freeloader. Hanbit remembered a time when she'd handed him a magic book, telling him to stop hauling goods and actually learn something. That memory was followed by a much darker one, seeing her trapped behind iron bars because of Julio's frame-up. He remembered looking down at those same bars, unable to help her when it mattered most. In that life, she'd told him it wasn't his fault, and to just wait while she handled the rat responsible. But she never got the chance. She ended up burning to death in her cell. To Hanbit, she wasn't just an NPC. She was a precious, painful part of his history. He stood at the entrance for a moment, lost in the weight of the past. Then he reached out and pushed the door open. He saw her standing there, exactly as she was before everything went wrong. She was leaning against the counter, looking bored out of her mind. She looked up as the bell rang, noticing a face she hadn't seen around town before. She stood up properly, asking what this new face wanted with her shop. She seemed skeptical, asking if he even knew who she was. Hanbit just gave her a friendly smile, saying he was a newbie who wanted to learn magic from her. The request caught her off guard. She wasn't exactly known as a teacher in these parts. She scoffed, asking why on earth she would waste her time teaching a complete stranger. Hanbit knew she'd play hard to get, but he already had a solution thanks to getting Julio arrested. She leaned in close, examining him like she was trying to solve a puzzle. Suddenly it clicked. She realized he was the black dragon everyone was talking about. Atsubal recognizes him immediately. He's the black dragon. Hanbit mentions how Julio was just trying to frame her as a thief. She's just glad she managed to avoid a mess like that. He doesn't mind. He's not a fan of the guy either. They both agree that Julio looks exactly like a cheap scammer. The stream chat is having a field day with Julio catching random LS. Hanbit shifts the topic back to the magic book she's looking for. She's taken aback that he even knows about it. He gets straight to the point. She's looking for a cure, isn't she? Atsubal is baffled. How could he possibly know what's sitting on her desk? He casually offers his help. She bites her lip, clearly torn. She asks if he actually knows anything about medicine, but he's already confident. He starts listing the symptoms: blue pupils, dizziness, and vomiting. He knew it. He's got her full attention now. She tells him how many times she's been fooled by people claiming to be experts. They all just wasted her time and money on bogus diagnoses. She's been through a cycle of hope and despair for too long. He adds that healing magic doesn't work, and the patient has no appetite. Her hands start shaking as she asks if he really knows the disease. He doesn't have a name for it, but he knows the cure. She grabs him, desperate for any shred of hope. She begs him for help, promising to make it worth his while. He gives her a small smile and tells her to trust him. A hidden quest pops up: Atsubal's Secret Struggle. The reward is an epic grade spellbook. The stream chat is losing it over a guaranteed epic reward. Yonwoo is in shock. A guaranteed epic at rank 1 is basically a myth. Hanbit plays it off, reminding him he's still a newbie who needs an explanation. Yonwoo explains that rank is the level tier, while grade determines rarity. He shows the difference between common, uncommon, and rare. Then there's the high-tier stuff: epic, legendary, and mythic. He's still reeling. He didn't even know epic grades existed at rank 1. Hanbit realizes this game is different from the world he remembers. He decides he'll have to use the epic book himself to see how strong it actually is. Yonwoo asks where they need to go to find the medicine. Suddenly, Hanbit freezes up as a digital glitch ripples through him. Yonwoo panics, thinking his partner is actually sick. Hanbit realizes what's happening. His mom is home. A forced logout kicks in, and he starts to vanish into thin air. Yeonwoo is left standing in the street completely alone. The stream goes wild as the screen fills with mom crit and LMAO. In the real world, Hanbit scrambles out of his room, panting as he greets his mom. She just stands there, looking at him with a face that says she's heard it all before. Mom is screaming at him about the locked door, while Hanbit's apologizing as fast as he can. He points at his VR gear, explaining that his buddy Yeonwoo gave it to him as a gift. He says Yeonwoo begged him to play since he's back from the army. Mom's heard of this record game on the news. She warns him not to get addicted and tells him to put his bag away. Hanbit promises he'll only play in his spare time since he starts his internship tomorrow. Mom is genuinely surprised he's actually going through with the job. She starts hitting him anyway for doing it all without telling her. He defends himself, saying he needs the experience. She winds up for another hit, still annoyed he kept her in the dark. He actually blocks it this time, which only makes things worse. She can't believe he had the nerve to block her. Hanbit realizes dealing with his mom is harder than fighting a pro. She thinks it's crazy to start work right after the army. He explains that since it's his last semester, he needs to secure a job as soon as possible. Mom goes quiet for a second, letting it sink in. She reminds him that the office is far away and he'll have to wake up early. Before heading out, she tells him not to skip breakfast like he usually does. He tries to say he ate a parfait Yeonwoo bought him, but she isn't interested in excuses. She slams the door on her way out. Hanbit collapses on the bed, totally drained from that mom aggro encounter. He checks the time and realizes he abandoned the stream, but decides sleep is more important for his first day. Meanwhile, back in the game world, Yeonwoo is absolutely wailing. He's having a full-blown breakdown while the chat goes crazy. A forum post on the RPG community site is blowing up out of nowhere. The title claims an epic quest and hidden skill have been found by a newbie. The post talks about a buggy newbie who snagged a guaranteed epic fireball book. Someone reading the post thinks it's all a load of crap. It's Yeeha Kim, who works for a small game studio. He thinks the hype is totally overblown. He's convinced this is just some cheap viral marketing stunt for Loper's stream. He tries to look up Black Dragon, but only finds results for monster names. He can't stop laughing at the fact that the guy got mom aggroed mid-game. Something about the whole situation still catches his eye. He decides he has to check it out for himself. Back on the stream, Yeonwoo looks like he's lost his soul. He tells everyone to calm down while notifications ping relentlessly. He tries to defend Hanbit, saying he's a good son who already served his country. Then he notices something on his screen. He freezes as he sees the numbers climbing. He's losing it. The viewer count is exploding out of nowhere. He realizes they've gone viral on the RPG community forums. He sees a message from Black Dragon saying he has to stop for today because of work. Yeonwoo is terrified of being left alone with all these viewers. But there's a follow-up message. I'll give you a hint instead. Yeonwoo reads the hint and can't believe what his buddy is telling him. Back on stream, Yeonwoo awkwardly explains that while his partner had to step away, he left a special gift for the viewers. The chat is practically vibrating with anticipation, demanding to see what kind of info Black Dragon left behind. Yeonwoo reveals the message. The cure for Atsubul's quest is hidden within bomb slimes. It's a game-changing hint. The next morning, the high-rise buildings of Songdo gleam under the sun as the city wakes up. Hanbit stands outside a corporate building in a stiff suit, checking his phone and feeling the first-day jitters. He takes a deep breath and gives himself a pep talk, ready to conquer the professional world. He arrives at the 4th floor of Ink Technology, the place where his career is supposed to start. Hanbit enters the office with a polite bow, but the atmosphere inside is already thick with stress and shouting. One of the senior employees is mid-rant, complaining about unreflected revisions while barely acknowledging Hanbit's presence. The man finally stops to stare at Hanbit, looking more confused than welcoming. He grumbles about HR not doing their job, clearly annoyed that he has to deal with an intern today. He clicks his tongue in annoyance, already judging Hanbit before the kid has even sat down. The man orders another employee, Minho Lee, to take the intern away and get the conference room ready. Minho Lee introduces himself with a weary, sleep-deprived expression that suggests he's seen better days. Minho tells Hanbit to drop his bag and follow him, promising to show him his desk later. The first task for the new intern, cleaning the whiteboard in a cold, empty meeting room. Hanbit diligently erases the notes, realizing his dream internship might just be a lot of manual labor. Suddenly, the team leader walks in with a coffee, looking surprised to see anyone in the room. The team leader takes a sip of his coffee and bluntly asks who Hanbit is, clearly having forgotten about the hearing. Minho quickly explains that this is the intern he mentioned previously, but the boss doesn't seem impressed. Hanbit gives a 90-degree bow, declaring his commitment to learning everything he can. The team leader dismisses him instantly, telling him not to work too hard and just do what he's told. He waves them off, telling Hanbit to just leave once he's finished tidying up the room. Hanbit walks out, feeling completely deflated. He can already see that this company is a dead end. He realizes he's going to have to learn everything on his own if he wants to survive here. That evening, a boot steps back onto the familiar cobblestones of the game world. Hanbit, as Black Dragon, logs back in and apologizes for the delay, explaining that his first day of work was a nightmare. He finds Yeonwoo staring at him with a strange, glittering intensity that makes him immediately uncomfortable. Yeonwoo is practically radiating joy, his face glowing with a level of excitement that borders on creepy. Yeonwoo shouts that they've hit the jackpot, showing him the viewer count that has soared over 5,000. Yeonwoo announces to the crowd that they are going to tackle Atsubul's quest for real this time. The chat is skeptical, nodding that no one has managed to clear this quest yet, but Yeonwoo is undeterred. Black Dragon just smirks, telling the viewers that everyone else just lacks the necessary imagination. He gestures for the growing crowd to follow him as he leads the way through the city streets. Yeonwoo whispers to him, asking if he's really a newbie. Hanbit just brushes it off, saying he's read a lot of fantasy. Hanbit comments on how much freedom this game offers if you just think outside the box. Up ahead, they find a massive congregation of players. It seems everyone saw the post on the community site. The square is packed with people curious to see if the rumors about a secret solution are actually true. Suddenly, the crowd starts to part. Yeonwoo gasps, recognizing the elite players of the Vanguard Guild. A line of heavily armored, high-level warriors marches through the city, their presence commanding total silence from the onlookers. Yeonwoo is starting to have some doubts. He asks Hanbit if he's actually a newbie, since he seems to know way too much about the game already. Hanbit just shrugs it off, saying he's read a lot of fantasy novels. In a game with this much freedom, he figures anything is possible if you just use your head. They walk through the town, ignoring some players in the background who are shouting about how everything they've heard is nonsense. A massive crowd is gathering nearby. It looks like a community post brought every player in the area out to this exact spot. Suddenly, someone screams that the Vanguard has arrived. Hanbit just looks confused, having no idea who that's supposed to be. The elite players of the game, the Vanguard, walk through the crowd. They're fully geared out and look like they mean business. Yeonwoo explains that the news of what Hanbit discovered has spread way further than they expected, attracting the big fish. When Hanbit asks what a Vanguard is, Yeonwoo can't believe he's never heard of the top 10,000 players in the world. These guys are the elite. Out of 300 million players worldwide, being in the top 10K is a massive deal. Their rankings are determined by everything from level and proficiency to story progression. Only about 500 of them are actually based in Korea. Yeonwoo explains that most of them look like mages, but haven't actually learned magic yet, focusing purely on growth stats instead. Hanbit's eyes land on a specific bow being carried by one of the rangers. It catches his attention immediately. He recognizes it as the Golden Bird bow. It was crafted by someone with decent skills, but it's rare to see one this early. Hanbit realizes that if even these top players couldn't clear the quest, then they must be missing something big. The Vanguard get full corporate backing to clear content because, in this game, high-level success equals real-world money. While they're talking, someone reaches out and taps Hanbit on the shoulder. A female player recognizes him as Black Dragon and asks if he's currently streaming his quest progress. Nearby, two other players are getting into a heated argument about whether to believe what Hanbit's doing. The argument turns violent instantly, and one of them gets clocked right in the face. Hanbit just watches with a blank expression. He completely ignores the chaos and tells Yeonwoo that they need to head toward the sea first. Yeonwoo is confused since the quest objectives are in the opposite direction, but Hanbit says they need to go get a fishing rod. Then he let out a smirk and dropped a bombshell. If they wanted to craft the medicine, they'd have to go fishing first. Yeonwoo is stunned. He can't understand why they're switching to life skill content in the middle of a high-level quest. The stream chat is just as baffled, wondering if Hanbit has finally lost it or if he's just trolling them. Viewers are already reacting, and apparently the price of fish in the local markets is already starting to skyrocket. Hanbit just smirks at the camera. He knows these people haven't even begun to grasp the real hint he's following. Yeonwoo asks if the ingredients for the medicine are actually in the sea, but Hanbit just keeps playing it mysterious. He gives a vague answer, letting the suspense build for the viewers watching the stream. Yeonwoo starts panicking, worried that if this turns out to be a prank, his reputation as a streamer is finished. Then Hanbit makes his big move. He asks Yeonwoo to lend him 70,000 gold. That's a massive amount for a newbie. Yeonwoo's brain practically short-circuits. He can't believe this is where all the buildup was leading. The town is getting even more crowded as word spreads about the unusual strategy Hanbit is using. Hanbit looks out over the bridge, noting that the player count in the area is still rising by the minute. He tells Yeonwoo to relax and promises to pay the gold back soon, but his partner is still looking pretty skeptical. They make it to the coast and find an old fisherman named Eldrock sitting quietly on the rocks. Hanbit walks right up and greets him like they're old friends, but the old man doesn't even turn around. He tells the old man he wants to buy that specific fishing rod, but Eldrock just pretends he can't hear a word he's saying. Hanbit isn't falling for the act. He leans in and tells Eldrock he knows he can hear everything, then offers him 50,000 gold. Eldrock stays silent for a second, his expression turning sharp as he finally acknowledges Hanbit's presence. Then he finally speaks up, telling Hanbit not a chance and demanding 100,000 gold instead. The old man is a real shark. Hanbit just smiles, realizing the greedy NPC hasn't changed a bit. He tries to haggle him down to 60,000. Eldrock starts cursing him out, calling him a rotten brat for trying to scam an old man, but they eventually settle in to fish together. Hanbit just chuckles, nodding that hearing the old man curse like this brings back some pretty nostalgic memories. Eldrock mutters that young punks these days are way too sly. He finally gives in, telling Hanbit to just do whatever he wants and get lost. Hanbit is thrilled, holding up his new prize. He managed to snag the fishing rod, though the chat is roasting him for basically extorting the poor old man. As they head out at sunset, Yeonwoo notes that Hanbit actually seems to have a natural talent for streaming. Hanbit just wonders why he's suddenly being so complimentary. They make it to the field where the slimes are gathered. Yeonwoo is convinced the stream is doomed the moment Hanbit insists on using a fishing rod here. To spice things up for the audience, Yeonwoo suggests they try some role-playing. Hanbit immediately shuts that down, saying he absolutely hates the idea. Yeonwoo starts explaining the game mechanics to the viewers. He warns that bomb slimes are incredibly sensitive, even the slightest touch can set them off. He's not kidding. A silhouette shows what happens when a player gets too close. A massive, fiery explosion that sends them flying back to the respawn point. Even attacking them from a distance with something as simple as a rock is enough to trigger their self-destruct mechanism. Another explosion goes off, nearly catching Yeonwoo in the blast. He screams as the screen is filled with fire and debris. Even if you just accidentally brush against them while running through the field, it's game over instantly. Yeonwoo breaks down in tears, complaining that these useless mobs just explode and don't drop anything at all. In the gaming world, they're basically garbage. They take a breather in the grass. Yeonwoo still can't figure out how Hanbit plans to handle these explosive slimes with nothing but a fishing rod. Hanbit steps carefully through the tall grass, making sure he doesn't accidentally trip a slime himself. One wrong move and he's toast. He finds a spot on a ridge and crouches down. He's looking for the perfect height to execute the hidden strategy he has in mind. He starts adjusting the reel on the fishing rod. He notes that the sensitivity in game is a bit different from reality, so he needs to recalibrate it manually. Below them, the slimes are just wobbling around, completely unaware that they're about to become part of Hanbit's plan. Yeonwoo leans in and whispers to Hanbit. He's noticed something suspicious happening behind them. He's noticed that they're being followed. A donation pop-up confirms it. There are shameless idiots tailing them ever since they left the city. Hanbit's expression goes cold. He's not surprised at all that stream snipers have already found them. He looks back toward the bushes. He'd already sensed them following from a distance, just waiting for a chance to ruin the stream. It's not just one person, either. There are several different groups of stalkers hiding in the foliage. Hanbit asks Yeonwoo to hand over the screen settings window. Yeonwoo is confused, but obeys without asking questions. Hanbit turns to the camera with a sly smirk. He apologizes to the viewers, telling them they need to make a small adjustment. Suddenly, the broadcast starts to glitch out with static. Hanbit announces that they need to perform a brief technical adjustment to the stream. He thinks to himself that, since these snipers want to watch so badly, he might as well mess with them a little before the main event. He reaches out to take the settings window from Yeonwoo's hand. That same mischievous smirk returns. He knows exactly how to play this to trap the people tailing them. As the screen continues to flicker, he tells the audience to bear with him for just a moment while he handles the technical issues. This whole situation reminds him of his time back in the military. Hanbit has been a massive fan of fantasy for as long as he can remember. Back in the barracks, he was a total loner. None of the other soldiers shared his hobbies or understood his passion for fiction. He used to spend all his free time reading a novel called Monster Tamer, until the pages were literally falling apart from use. That all changed when a new recruit joined his unit. For once, he wasn't the only fantasy fan in the room. This rookie was different. He came up to Hanbit and asked if he was a fan of the novel, looking completely starstruck. The rookie started pointing out all these tiny, fascinating details in the story that he found particularly interesting. Hanbit was floored. Even after reading the book dozens of times, this guy was finding things he'd never even noticed himself. The recruit leaned in closer, his voice full of excitement as he shared his own wild theories about the world in the book. He told Hanbit he was incredible. It felt like this guy hadn't just read the book. It was like he'd actually lived in that fantasy world himself. Years later, after his discharge, Hanbit saw an advertisement for the record project. He knew right then that it was his chance to live that dream. Back in the present, he looks at Yeonwoo. He's convinced that playing this game with this guy is going to lead to something legendary. Yeonwoo warns him that only his screen is being broadcast to the public right now, while Hanbit fixes his own settings. Hanbit tells him to just keep acting like they're focused on the slimes for now. He looks down at the explosive mobs below them. Yeonwoo starts acting like an over-the-top streamer, blocking the view with his head to keep the snipers from seeing what Hanbit is actually up to. Hanbit realizes that for the audience, it must be quite frustrating to only have Yeonwoo's limited perspective of what's happening. He knows his competitors are likely getting anxious, worried that others might catch up to the same lucrative spot before them. The tense standoff between the groups following them won't last much longer. Hanbit can feel the pressure mounting as they draw closer to the trap. Crackle, a heavy boot crushes the dry grass as one of the stalkers moves closer in the shadows, thinking they're undetected. Hanbit doesn't even need to turn around to know they're there. He can practically feel their greedy eyes on his back. The stream snipers are getting restless. There are always those who get too impatient and try to jump the gun before the time is right. Hanbit reaches out a gloved hand, his finger poised over the stream's interface to reset the broadcast settings. The screen is back, the chat erupts. Hanbit gives a casual greeting, catching everyone off guard with his sudden return to the live broadcast. He grips the handle of his fishing rod tightly, ready to put his unique plan into motion. With a powerful whip of his arm, he casts the line far out over the edge of the cliff, the hook whistling through the air. He mentions that there's a very specific reason he went through the trouble of buying this rod from Old Man Eldrock. It wasn't just for show. The hook is incredibly sharp. It pierces the outer membrane of a bomb slime so quickly that the creature doesn't even have time to react or explode. Hanbit presses a small trigger on the side of the fishing reel, activating the hook's secret mechanism. Sharp spikes suddenly deploy from the tip of the hook, burrowing deep into the slime's core to destabilize it. This allows him to manually trigger and control the explosions, turning the slimes into a series of timed charges that clear the field. He glances back at the followers hiding in the brush with a cold, knowing look. Their presence was anticipated from the start. Right at the feet of the stream snipers, one of the slimes begins to glow with an ominous green light. The snipers realize too late that they've walked straight into a trap. Panic instantly replaces their greed. "D-damn it, let's pull back for now," one of them yells, his voice cracking as he realizes how outclassed they are. One of the stalkers looks up, confused by a strange rustling sound coming from the trees directly above them. The slimes are falling. A literal rain of explosive slimes begins to descend on the fleeing group from the cliffs. One sniper can only watch in horror as a blinding flash of green light fills his entire vision, cutting off his escape. Kaboom! A massive explosion rocks the entire area, sending a shockwave through the field that levels everything in its path. Hanbit stands tall, his rod resting on his shoulder. "That takes care of the stream snipers," he says calmly while the chat loses its mind. "Now then, shall we get down to business?" He prepares to cast his line once more, his eyes focused on a much more valuable target. Among the common green slimes, one wobbles with a distinct golden-yellow hue, a rare sight in this field. Thwip, Hanbit's hook finds its mark, snagging the rare variant before it even has a chance to trigger its explosion. He skillfully maneuvers the dud slime into a collection pouch, keeping it perfectly intact and safe for transport. "All right, material gathered," Hanbit announces cheerfully. The viewers are stunned that he actually caught one without it blowing up in his face. He explains the secret mechanic. If you wipe out a large pack of slimes simultaneously, there's a small chance the survivors will turn into harmless, dud slimes. Yeonwoo is practically vibrating with excitement. He asks if the quest is really this easy if you just know the right trick to exploit. Hanbit chuckles to himself. He knows that while the strategy is sound, the manual controls required are far beyond what a normal player could handle. They decide to head over to Atzbel to turn in the materials. Somewhere nearby, one of the failed snipers lets out a long, weary sigh. Kim Yeeha, an employee at a small-scale gold farm, is hiding in the bushes, gasping for air after narrowly escaping the blast. He realizes that the player known as Black Dragon is definitely not the ordinary newbie he's been pretending to be for the cameras. He imagines Hanbit as some high-level corporate executive, convinced that a massive organization must be pulling the strings behind the scenes. He watches the two of them celebrate and wonders why such a big player would waste his time teaming up with a small timer like Yeonwoo. He concludes that Yeonwoo must just be a loudmouthed distraction to keep people from noticing what Hanbit is actually doing in the background. Kim Yeeha's eyes narrow. He doesn't care about their secrets. He just needs to finish the Atzbel quest himself to meet his monthly performance quota. He starts walking toward the workshop, determined to turn in whatever scraps he managed to salvage from the explosion. However, the narrative voice ominously notes that Kim Yeeha did not actually succeed in his goal of turning in the materials. At the workshop, Atzbel looks down at what Yeeha brought her with a look of pure disgust. "What on earth did you bring me?" she asks, repulsed. Atzbel stares at the plate in front of her, her face contorted in absolute horror. "You brought this disgusting thing as medicine?" she screeches, as the live chat fills with comments like "gag" and "is that poison?" Hanbit and Yeonwoo stand there, slightly sweating under her intense glare. "Is it really that bad?" Yeonwoo asks weakly, while Hanbit remains silent with a blank, unbothered expression. Atzbel lets out a long, weary sigh, her eyes closed as she tries to process the sheer audacity of the two men standing in her workshop with that sludge. She turns her back to them, her posture stiff with indignation. "I'll compensate you for Julio's matter with money. Just leave," she says, clearly wanting nothing more to do with them. "I guess you aren't that desperate." Hanbit's voice is low and provocative, catching her off guard just as she was about to dismiss them entirely. Atzbel whips around, her face flushed with a mix of anger and deep-seated frustration. She grinds her teeth, looking like she's about to explode at his cold remark. "How dare you talk such nonsense when you know nothing?" she begins, her voice trembling with rage as she steps toward Hanbit. "MMPH?" Before she can finish her sentence, Hanbit's hand moves in a blur, shoving a spoonful of the glowing, gelatinous medicine directly into her open mouth. Gulp, caught completely by surprise, Her natural reflex kicks in, and she swallows the foul-looking substance before her brain can even process what's happening. There's a moment of stunned silence in the workshop. Yeonwoo looks on in absolute terror while Hanbit maintains a calm, almost cheerful smile as he finishes the deed. The chat is in an uproar over Hanbit's aggressive tactics. "What a piece of trash," one viewer comments, while others laugh at how Yeonwoo's horrified expression is so honest. Atspel clutches her throat, her eyes wide with shock and a growing sense of nausea. Did you just force-feed me that?" she stammers, her face turning a sickly shade of green. "Blegh?" Suddenly, she clutches her stomach and doubles over, barely making it a few steps before she starts retching violently on the floor. "The effects are certainly immediate," Hanbit notes casually. From outside the door, Yeonwoo listens to the sounds of her throwing up with a face full of guilt and worry. Atspel storms back, her face tear-streaked and absolutely livid. She grabs Hanbit by the vest, shaking him with all her might. "Yeonwoo, what do you think you're doing?" she screams. Hanbit doesn't flinch, even as she screams inches from his face. "How strange," he muses, his eyes fixed on her. "A seed-like thing came out, didn't it?" He looks her straight in the eye, his expression shifting to one of serious expertise. "That's the cause of the illness. The parasite that was draining your life force is finally out." Loud gagging sounds echo from behind the door. Hanbit just smirks, knowing his plan is working exactly as intended. Atspel isn't so calm. She grabs him by the collar, demanding to know what he just did to her mother. She's about to lose it, but he just calmly asks if she saw a seed-like thing come up. He points out that the seed was the actual root of the sickness. Atspel freezes. He explains that's what was really eating away at her mother all this time. Then he drops a bombshell. He knows she's been suffering from the same thing. Atspel sinks to her knees. She's been hiding the pain, too afraid to worry her mom or give her enemies any leverage. She lived in fear of guys like Julio using her weakness against her. She looks up, bewildered that a total stranger could see right through her. Hanbit explains the nature of the beast, a parasitic seed from the south that latches onto the stomach. He points to the slime mucus. It's the only thing that can force the parasite to let go. A dud bomb slime is the key. It doesn't explode, but its slime is a potent emetic. Without the bang, it's just a nasty toxin that triggers an immediate purge. Yeonwoo watches with a mix of disgust and fascination. Hanbit assures her that once the seed is out, the disease is gone for good. Atspel looks at the glowing yellow slime, hesitating. Hanbit hands the plate over, telling her to get it out of her system so she can stop relying on useless meds. He nudges her toward her mother's room. Watching her go, he can't help but feel a bit nostalgic about this game world. To him, she hasn't changed a bit from the version he knew in his past lives. She was always the type to worry about everyone else, while her own world was falling apart. He remembers how she used to have his back, even when she was screaming at him for being a mess. He genuinely hopes this time around, things end differently for her. Suddenly, the game shifts into a cinematic cutscene. Atspel enters the room, carrying the slime for her mother. It looks gross, but it's the only way. She tells her mom to just take a sip. Her mother swallows the sludge, trusting her daughter completely. Atspel waits, her breath held. The cure works instantly. The massive seeds are out, and the relief in the room is palpable. Yeonwoo can't even hold back his tears, while Hanbit just smiles in the background. Atspel is full of fire now, swearing she's going to make those fake doctors pay for scamming her. Hanbit watches her, satisfied to see that genuine smile again after so long. She thanks him with a smile that has the entire stream chat falling in love. Hanbit checks the results, while Yeonwoo tries to process how a fishing trip turned into a medical miracle. Atspel knows they've done more than just a simple quest. They saved her family. She turns around, holding a heavy-looking tome. It's time for their reward. It's the spellbook Hanbit was after, adorned with a massive red gem. He takes it, and they exchange a sincere moment of gratitude. Yeonwoo is practically drooling over the loot, but Hanbit shuts him down immediately. They go to leave, but Atspel stops them. She's not done giving them their due. She drops a massive, heavy sack of gold on the table. Yeonwoo's eyes nearly pop out of his head. This is way more than the standard payout for a beginner quest. A system notification pops up. He just landed a first clear reward, and even he's surprised. The gold reward gets a massive boost. jumping from 2,000 all the way to 4,000 as the payout hits its maximum limit. His basic stats get a bump as well, granting him 2 extra bonus points right off the bat. A chunk of experience rolls in, adding another 200 points to his progression. Suddenly, he shoots up 5 levels at once, bringing along another 5 stat points to distribute. The spellbook in his hands begins to glow with an intense, blinding light as its grade starts to shift. The heroic spellbook he just earned is forcibly upgraded, transforming into an incredibly rare unique grade item. Hanbit stares at the screen in disbelief, barely able to process the sheer amount of loot he just landed. He was honestly just happy to see Atspel safe, but the game is clearly rewarding him for the perfect clear. Yonwoo is just as stunned, realizing that first clear bonus is no joke when it comes to quality. The live stream chat is moving so fast it's practically a blur, with viewers losing their minds over the unique drop. The spellbook sits on the floor, radiating power, as Yonwoo can't help but let out a hysterical laugh. Yonwoo is absolutely ecstatic about the book, while Hanbit is just slumped against the wall trying to make sense of the windfall. The streamer leans in, whispering for Hanbit to say something to the thousands of people currently watching them. He tries his best to manage the chaos, begging the chat to calm down while the notification alerts continue to pile up. Yonwoo is starting to sweat, as the sheer volume of comments becomes impossible for a single person to track. Atspel isn't done yet, reaching into her pocket to pull out even more rewards for her rescuers. Hanbit is genuinely surprised. At this rate, he's going to need a bigger bag just to carry all this stuff. A new achievement pops up on his HUD, awarding him an extra stat point and a special letter of introduction. He takes the parchment, looking over the elegant script written on the front. She explains it's for a local blacksmith, a contact that should help them get their gear in order. She points out that they look pretty pathetic in their starter rags, especially since they still reek of rotten slime. Hanbit gets defensive, insisting the smell is part of the job, while Atspel just gives them a playful hard time. She flashes a gorgeous smile and tells them they're welcome back at the inn anytime they need a hand. Hanbit gives her a quiet nod, a small smile tugging at his lips as they prepare to move out. Once they're back on the road, Yonwoo pulls out a map, wondering where they should head next in this massive world. They're starting in the port city of Edlin, but the game is designed with total freedom for anyone who can survive. Of course, that freedom comes with a catch. Wander too far without a plan, and you'll end up as monster food in a high-level zone. Yonwoo brings up the game's famous customization, wondering why Hanbit's stuck with such a basic look. He brags about spending 5 hours sculpting his own avatar to look like a more luxurious version of himself. He reminds the viewers that in a world where you can choose any gender, what you see is rarely what you get. Hanbit tunes him out, focused on figuring out the most efficient path for their next destination. A sharp notification chime rings out, catching both of them off guard. A viewer drops a 50,001 donation, just because they want to see Atspel get angry again. Yonwoo practically screams with joy, his eyes popping out as he thanks the donor for the massive tip. Hanbit does some quick math and realizes his half of that single donation is worth a significant chunk of change. The bells keep ringing as more donations start pouring in, with another viewer tossing 10,001 into the pot. Then comes another 30,000, as the stream audience continues to react to the insane unique drop. Yonwoo is in heaven, imagining himself lounging on a pile of cash as the money keeps flowing in. His jaw hits the floor when a single 100,001 donation lands, confirming that fire magic really is the crowd favorite. He shoves the tablet in Hanbit's face, showing him that the viewer count has exploded to over 8,000 people. The stats don't lie. They've officially gone viral, with thousands of eyes glued to their every move. Hanbit is floored that a single quest could draw this much attention and money in such a short amount of time. Yonwoo can't stop bowing, his face split with a wide grin as he thanks the viewers for the sudden influx of donations. Hanbit does some quick math. With 500,001 in the pot, his take-home share is a cool $250,000. To celebrate, Yonwoo starts a ridiculous gratitude dance, shaking his hips while the live chat erupts in a mix of laughter and second-hand embarrassment. Hanbit stares down at his gloved hand, realizing that for the first time, he has a real path to financial stability. He clenches his fist tight, the weight of his goal finally feeling within reach. He's finally going to be able to take care of his mother. He thinks back to the missing person report that once bore his name, a grim reminder of the years he spent away after his military enlistment. He remembers the cruelty of the goddess, who showed him his mother's suffering just to break his spirit, and he vows to make up for every second of her pain. Yeonwoo snaps him out of it, urging him to crack open the new spellbook since the audience is dying for a demonstration. Hanbit reaches out, his fingers brushing against the ornate cover of the Fireball spellbook as it begins to pulse with magical energy. As he opens the book, a stream of digital data surges into his body, cementing the new power within his soul. The system displays the details of his new skill, a unique grade fireball that promises a devastating, all-consuming explosion. To Hanbit, gaining power this easily feels almost like cheating compared to the grueling training he endured in the past. Yeonwoo is bouncing with excitement, asking if he felt that incredible rush of information flooding into his brain. Hanbit just blinks at him, looking completely unaffected, which leaves both of them momentarily confused. Hanbit laughs it off, assuming there's just a bit of a server delay before the sensation kicks in. Internally, Hanbit is troubled. He definitely has the skill, but he didn't feel the usage method being taught to him at all. He wonders if the game isn't teaching him anything new, but rather just unlocking the combat knowledge he already mastered in the other world. He finally understands what the goddess meant by existing character. His status is just a reflection of the warrior he already became. Yeonwoo keeps pestering him, pointing out that the viewers are waiting for some fireworks. He points out a massive boulder sitting in the middle of the field, the perfect target for a test run. Hanbit raises his hand, closing his eyes to focus the mana at the center of his palm. He takes a long, steady breath, feeling the heat begin to coalesce as he prepares the incantation. "Fireball!" he shouts, and a swirling vortex of flames erupts from his arm, illuminating the entire area. He thrusts his hand forward, launching the orb of concentrated fire toward the distant rock with incredible speed. The impact is instantaneous and violent, the fireball expanding into a pillar of flame that reaches toward the sky. A massive explosion rocks the ground, turning the landscape into a scorched crater of smoke and fire. Yeonwoo stands there with his mouth hanging open, while Hanbit simply watches the aftermath of his own power. Hanbit crosses his arms with a smug, satisfied look, soaking in the stunned silence of his companion. He's actually a bit surprised himself. For a rank 1 spell, that fireball packed a significantly harder punch than he expected. Suddenly, a wave of dizziness hits him, and Hanbit's expression shifts from pride to pure agony. His eyes go wide with shock as he feels something deep within his status window begin to shift and awaken. A system alert chimes. A new hidden effect for his special title has been forcibly unlocked. Hanbit looks up into the starry void, his voice trembling with recognition as he realizes he isn't alone. A colossal, ghostly hand reaches down from the heavens, looming over him like the judgment of a deity. The vision passes as quickly as it came, leaving Hanbit panting and exhausted, his body trembling from the strain. The new effects of his Recorder of 55 Times title are revealed, granting him accelerated skill growth and a mysterious spirit keyword. Hanbit grits his teeth, his jaw tightening with a cold, simmering rage. He digs his fingers into his leg, his eyes burning with hatred as he curses the goddess who put him through this nightmare. A system window reveals Hanbit's secret weapon, the Recorder of 55 Cycles trait. This basically lets him relearn any skill he mastered in his previous 55 lives at an insane speed. Hanbit is gritting his teeth, clearly feeling the physical toll of pushing his low-level body to its absolute limit. He grips his knee, frustrated. He knows that damned goddess is probably getting a kick out of watching him struggle like this. He lets out a heavy breath, trying to steady his lungs after that intense burst of mana. Wiping away the sweat, he realizes just how closely he's being observed by the higher powers running this game. Yeonwoo checks in to see if he's holding up, but Hanbit just brushes it off. He's not about to show any weakness now. Hanbit glances at him, thinking there's no way a normal player could wrap their head around what he's dealing with. Hanbit made an excuse, saying he was exhausted since it was his first time using magic, then turned to Yeonwoo and suggested he demonstrate a normal grade, spell so Hanbit could witness the massive gap in their skill levels. Yeonwoo wasn't exactly thrilled about this circus act, but under Hanbit's pressure, he reluctantly got into position to show what he had. The blonde guy takes a deep breath and focuses all his energy on his fingertips. He screams "Fireball" with enough confidence to rival a high-level archmage. A tiny, pathetic spark pops out. It's barely enough to light a candle, let alone a monster. Yeonwoo looks mortified by his own display, while Hanbit tries to be polite about the underwhelming flame. He starts complaining about how brutal the proficiency gap is, especially since Hanbit managed to land a unique grade book from the jump. He thinks the whole thing is rigged. Hanbit just offers a smug look. He knows it's not just about the rank of the book. Standing in the shadows of his own experience, Hanbit knows the real difference comes from the decades of mastery he's carrying. He decides to give his companion a reality check, telling him he's got the completely wrong idea about how magic works. He starts lecturing that magic isn't just a simple, click-and-cast ability that most players treat it as. Hanbit goes full nerd, claiming that magic is math. He says it requires precise mana control and complex calculations for every single chant. He keeps going, explaining why he isn't even making magic his main focus, yet despite his high-tier skill. Yeonwoo finally manages to cut in, looking completely baffled by the long-winded explanation. He points out that Hanbit literally just created this character yesterday, so this Master of the Arcane act is a bit much. The stream chat is absolutely roasting him, calling him an over-immersed Chunabu who's taking the role play way too seriously. Hanbit's eye twitches as he reads the comments. He's not about to let a bunch of internet trolls talk down to him. He starts screaming back at the camera, asking them what they even know about real magic. He threatens to stop giving out any quest info if they keep it up. Yeonwoo is desperately trying to calm him down before he blows his top. Suddenly, a massive donation alert from Small Spender pops up for 77,777 won. Instantly, Chibai Hanbit is relaxing in a bathtub full of cash. All that rage vanishes in a heartbeat. Hanbit is back to being the perfect, composed streamer, finger raised as if nothing happened. He and Yeonwoo both start bowing to the camera, claiming the whole outburst was just hamming it up for the stream. Talk about a quick recovery. Deep down, he realizes just how much of a money grubber he's become. But hey, money therapy is the best therapy. Once the drama settles, Yeonwoo asks where they're heading next in their journey. Hanbit already has a specific destination in mind, looking pretty satisfied with his plan. They arrive at a weathered, rustic wooden cabin tucked away in the forest. Yeonwoo is confused why they're completely ignoring the main story to visit some random hunter's hut. Hanbit explains that he needs to prioritize grabbing certain skills first. He's thinking ahead of the curve. He reaches out and pushes the heavy wooden door open with a slow creak. Inside, the cabin is dark and filled with the smell of old wood and leather. In the back, a large man is busy working. Animal trophies and skulls line the walls, making the place feel like a grim butcher shop. Yeonwoo shivers, admitting that the vibe of this place gives him the creeps every single time. A massive, muscular man turns around, holding a butcher's cleaver like it's a toy. This is the archery NPC, Hunter Returnee. Hanbit stays perfectly cool, introducing himself and stating that he's here to learn some archery. Yeonwoo just stays in the background, looking terrified. Returnee slams his cleaver into a slab of meat, giving the newbie a skeptical, intense look. He's clearly not impressed yet. Hanbit tightens his glove, looking way too confident for a guy about to take an impossible test. He tells the hunter he's got plenty of grit and skill to back up his big talk. He steps up to the mark and starts letting arrows fly one after another. He double-checks the rules, 30 shots, 10 points for a bullseye, and he needs 200 to pass. Returnee just grunts a confirmation. Yeonwoo is freaking out in the background, begging Hanbit to at least dump some stat points into agility first. But Hanbit just brushes him off. He's saving those points for later. He draws back the bowstring with perfect form, eyes locked onto the target. With a sharp snap, he releases the first arrow of the trial. The chat is already starting to doubt him, assuming he's just an average player who's about to get a reality check. Hanbit isn't worried at all. He's done this dozens of times across his past lives, and the muscle memory is still there. Seeing his confidence, Yeonwoo can only offer some nervous encouragement and hope for the best. Then the first arrow hits, and Julio's expression shifts from worry to pure confusion. The target thrums with the impact of a perfect shot, right near the center. Julio's jaw drops as he watches the arrows start to cluster exactly where they need to be. He can barely believe his eyes. This shouldn't be possible for a low-level character. Hanbit doesn't slow down for a second, drawing and firing with mechanical precision. The target is getting absolutely shredded. Yeonwoo is screaming in disbelief because Hanbit is pulling off back-to-back bullseyes like it's nothing. Out of 26 remaining attempts, every single one is heading straight for the mark. The center of the target basically explodes under the sheer volume of perfectly placed arrows. It's a relentless barrage that makes the wooden stand rattle with every impact. The final arrow, home, solidifying a performance that defies all game logic. Hanbit pumps a fist, knowing he just broke another record. Final score, 287 points. He managed this with level 2 gear and base stats, something no normal player could ever dream of. Cut to a quiet street, where the sound of coins jingling fills the air. A pile of gold coins falls onto a wooden crate, sparkling in the light. A girl with a red scarf catches them, looking completely bored. This is Rhea, and she's clearly looking for some real entertainment. She scoffs at the small fries she usually deals with, whose pockets are apparently easier to pick than a public portal. She looks up, her sharp eyes scanning for someone actually worth her time. She spots two silhouettes approaching the gate, and wonders what kind of idiots would walk right into her trap. She sits back with a mischievous grin, ready to play a little game with the newcomers. She wonders if these two are going to be any more interesting than her last victims. A few hours earlier, as the two men stepped out of the archery range, Yeonwoo was skipping along behind Hanbit, clutching his reward book and a bag of gold like a child receiving his first Christmas gift. Hanbit gives him a side-eye, not exactly sharing the same level of enthusiasm. He asks if Yeonwoo is maybe a little too excited, especially since the guy won't stop giggling like a schoolgirl. Yeonwoo is convinced Hanbit was some kind of pro archer in his student days, but Hanbit just shuts that theory down immediately. With literal gold signs in his eyes, Yeonwoo is already dreaming about being a millionaire. Turns out he bet on Hanbit in a community vote when the odds were totally against him, and now he's rolling in cash because of the upset. As they walk, the chat keeps buzzing with people telling Yeonwoo to chill out since his stream is still live. Yeonwoo asks where they're heading next, now that they've got some pocket change. Hanbit reveals his next goal is swordsmanship, but first, he needs to pick up the swiftness skill. Both Yeonwoo and the stream chat are confused. Apparently, nobody even knows what that skill is for. Yeonwoo tries to argue that swiftness is a useless top-tier skill with no practical use, but Hanbit just tells him to zip it and follow. He takes off at a sprint, leaving a frantic Yeonwoo scrambling to keep up. They reach the town gates where Hanbit points out their target, an NPC named Rhea. He notes there's a very specific reason why most players avoid her. Rhea stands there looking pretty proud of herself, but Hanbit isn't fooled. He explains to Yeonwoo that her quest is notorious for being way harder than the skill is actually worth. Yeonwoo is naturally skeptical, asking if Hanbit really has a plan for this. Hanbit just stays silent and focused, already 2 steps ahead. They approach her, the sound of their heavy boots echoing on the stone path of the town. Hanbit comes face to face with the legendary pickpocket NPC. She looks amused, as if she's found a new toy to play with. Straight to the point, Hanbit tells her he's here to learn the thing she's best at, the art of swiftness. Rhea likes the fire in his eyes, but there's a mischievous glint in hers that says she's about to make this very difficult. Suddenly, a smoke bomb goes off right under their feet, catching Yeonwoo completely off guard. In the confusion, a hand reaches into Hanbit's pouch and snatches a heavy bag of gold. By the time the smoke clears, Rhea is already a blur, sprinting away down the street with a triumphant laugh. She perches on a nearby wall, weighing the bag in her hand and feeling pretty good about her easy score. She's starting to get curious about this guy, though. She calls back that the teaching fee is a gift, and since it's only 5,000 gold, he should consider it a bargain. Rhea is shocked when Hanbit doesn't even flinch at the theft. He just casually adjusts his gloves and tells her to get on with the teaching already. To himself, Hanbit just smirks. 5,000 gold is a drop in the bucket compared to the small fortune she's managed to steal from him over 55 lifetimes. Rhea is genuinely annoyed now. There's something about his smug, unshakable attitude that really grates on her nerves. She decides to stop playing nice and declares that the real lesson starts now. With a mocking wave, she leaps into the air, challenging them to try and catch her if they can. The system quest pops up. Rhea has run away, find her within the time limit. The prize is her rare swiftness skill book. Handbit breaks it down for the viewers. Most players waste 15 hours and 25,000 gold across 5 different attempts just to finish this one quest. The timer starts at 3 hours. He mentions that you can't even work on other quests while this one is active, and the clock stops if you log out. Yeonwoo is losing it, but Hanbit just gives a sly look. He knows that if you can't catch a thief, you should just find someone she's actually afraid of. They head straight for a shop, with a familiar red potion sign hanging out front. Inside, they meet a blonde woman named Atsubal. She's surprised to see them and demands to know how Hanbit figured out she and Rhea were related. Hanbit gives her a bright, totally fake smile and says it's just a common rumor around Hideout Street. Atsubal doesn't seem entirely convinced, but she sighs and agrees to step in and help. Yeonwoo is flabbergasted that they're sisters, and Hanbit doubles down on his lie, claiming he saw some graffiti that gave it away. The chat isn't buying it for a second, calling him out for the obvious metagaming and replaying the video to see if they missed this supposed graffiti. Hanbit ignores them, thinking about how in a past life, Atsubal ended up in prison, but this time he's putting her to better use. Atsubal leads them out of the shop, ready to track down her troublesome little sister. Meanwhile, back on a rooftop, Rhea is humming a little tune, completely unaware of the storm coming her way. She's just relaxing and playing with a stray cat, thinking she's home free for the day. She giggles to herself, convinced that those 2 idiots have probably given up and gone home by now. She's so sure they'll never find her hidden spot, until a very familiar voice calls out her name from right behind her. Rhea freezes as she turns to see her older sister standing there with a terrifyingly calm expression. Her eyes go wide and she starts to panic, realization sinking in that her easy day just took a sharp turn for the worse. She's completely speechless, her brain short-circuiting at the sight of Atsubal on the rooftops. Rhea screams that Hanbit is cheating, but he just shrugs. He played by her any means necessary rules and used his history with Atsubal to his advantage. Atsubal politely asks for a private moment with her sister, and Rhea can already feel the trouble brewing. The lecture begins with a literal cheek pinch. Atsubal is furious, reminding Rhea that she was specifically told to stop pickpocketing people. She continues the scolding, asking if Rhea only plans to listen after she gets caught by a scumbag like Hanbit. Rhea is reduced to a sniveling mess on the floor. Finally, Atsubal tells her to come straight back to the shop once she's done, and warns her not to wander off again. A defeated Rhea meekly agrees, while Hanbit gives Atsubal a friendly wave and a thank you. With a heavy sigh, Rhea hands over the swiftness skill book, admitting that Hanbit is definitely the most unusual person she's ever dealt with. Rhea grudgingly holds out the prize, looking like she'd rather be anywhere else. She reminds him that a promise is a promise, though she clearly didn't expect to lose her bet this way. The quest rewards flash across the screen, revealing that Hanbit's record-breaking clear time has earned him a unique grade swiftness skill book and some bonus stats. The viewers in the chat are losing their minds over his incredible luck, or rather, his perfect execution. Disgusted by how easily she was played, Rhea takes off at high speed, vowing to never cross paths with Hanbit again. He just gives her a lazy wave, knowing full well their paths will likely cross again. A completely exhausted Yeonwoo finally catches up, gasping for air as he asks if the hunt is already over. Hanbit just offers a simple, calm yeah while holding his new prize. Hanbit presents the unique grade book with a smug grin, complimenting Yeonwoo for keeping up as well as he did. Yeonwoo can only stare in disbelief, his jaw hitting the floor at the sight of yet another top-tier item. The chat is a chaotic mess of laughter and confusion, wondering if the streamer is even controlling the character anymore, or if it's some kind of high-level auto-hunt script. They can't believe how capable he's become. With his new skill in hand and his confidence growing, Hanbit sets his sights on his next goal. He declares that it's finally time to go learn some real swordsmanship. Yeonwoo is completely out of breath, but Hanbit just casually walks up with the loot. He found it already. It's another unique grade item. Yeonwoo is losing his mind while the chat jokes about Hanbit hijacking the stream. The viewers are starting to realize Hanbit is the one actually carrying this entire playthrough. Hanbit decides it's time to learn some swordsmanship, starting with this new book. The skill book glows green as he activates it, absorbing the knowledge directly. Even after all his past lives, Hanbit still finds the concept of consuming a book to learn a skill a bit weird. Yeonwoo asks why he bothered learning haste. To most players, it seems like a waste of time. He imagines a race where haste gives him a split-second lead over his friend. In a game like Record Project, even a tiny increase in speed is barely noticeable to the average player. Hanbit knows the real value of unique skills, even if the difference seems small at first glance. Yeonwoo tries to flex his high-grade rank 2 swordsmanship, acting like he's the senior here. The chat isn't buying it, calling him out for being a total scrub compared to Hanbit. Yeonwoo tries to defend his honor against the viewers, but he's losing the argument. Hanbit notices that most players are just following the exact same progression path. They rely on the basic guidebook, which keeps them stuck in the beginner ranks. He realizes the only reason quests like Atzvol's were never cleared was because of scammers like Julio. In a normal run, Atzvol would have just disappeared, and Rhea would have been an ignored NPC. Having such a high level of freedom in the game makes it hard for most people to find the right path. Every bit of experience Hanbit has is just another hint toward the correct way to win. He's decided he's going to clear this game his own way, no matter what the developers intended. He doesn't know what the goddess is planning, but he's not interested in playing her games anymore. He's done being a puppet on her strings. They keep walking, looking for a specific swordsmanship NPC hidden deep in the woods. Yeonwoo complains about how far away the NPC is, but that's the point. He's a hermit swordsman. They finally reach a small pagoda in a clearing. That's the spot. Yeonwoo shouts out a cheerful greeting, but the man inside remains perfectly still. The swordsman's gaze is sharp enough to cut, and the atmosphere immediately gets heavy. A single look from him is enough to chill Yeonwoo to the bone. The legendary swordsman Balder stands up, ready to test his visitors. Balder sets down his drink and walks over, his presence filling the area. He tells them to grab the wooden swords. Words are just a waste of time here. Hanbit picks up the training sword. This is where the real work starts. Balder's eye narrows. He wants to see what Hanbit is actually capable of. Hanbit tosses his real sword aside. He knows the rules of the quest. He takes a stance, his focus shifting entirely to the wooden blade in his hand. Yeonwoo explains the quest has 2 parts. First you swing the sword, then you duel. The chat says this stage takes most people over 2 hours of mindless swinging. Someone mentions a clip of what happens if you actually try to fight Balder too early. In the video, Balder casually asks if the player wants to be split vertically or horizontally before deleting them. Yeonwoo realizes training NPCs in this game are actually terrifyingly strong. The chat starts a poll to see if Hanbit can actually beat the record time for this quest. A big-time viewer registers a mission. 200k won if he clears it in under 25 minutes. If he fails, they have to go cliff diving. The chat is blowing up as another viewer, Sword Master, chips in 70,000 KRW. Yeonwoo is losing his mind over the free money. The prize pool is over 800,000 won now. 25 minutes to clear. Yeonwoo is cheering Hanbit on like his life depends on it. Hanbit isn't paying attention to the money. He's got his eyes on the wooden sword, already planning his next move. He knows that for Balder, this isn't just a simple tutorial. It's a test of spirit. Most players think this quest is just about hitting a target a certain number of times, or waiting out a clock. Balder has zero expectations for beginners, because they usually treat the sword like a toy. The swordsman has met countless players who think the sword is the easiest weapon to master. To someone like Balder, that kind of arrogance is a personal insult. What he really wants to see is a sincere attitude toward the blade. Hanbit takes a stance, and the air shifts. Hanbit's eyes are cold and focused. He isn't just holding a wooden stick, he's a warrior again. Balder watches him closely, sensing something different about this kid. He's not moving yet. Hanbit barely adjusts his grip, but the intent behind it is unmistakable. Suddenly, Balder stops him. He's seen enough. The first stage is over before it even officially started. The chat is mass confused. They didn't see him swing even once, but the quest just progressed. Hanbit gives a confident smirk. His sincere attitude gamble worked perfectly. The system notification pops up. He skipped the grind and unlocked the duel with Balder. Yeonwoo can't believe it. Stage 2 in under a minute? That's literally never been done before. The viewers are split. Some think it's a bug, while others are just bored that they didn't get to see a montage. Sword God isn't done. He throws in another donation and ups the ante, double or nothing. Hanbit just asks if they're really okay with doubling the prize pool this easily. The new mission is brutal. Block Balder's sword 4 times. If they fail, both Hanbit and Yeonwoo have to go bungee jumping. Hanbit considers it. Blocking 4 hits from a master like this is a tall order even for him. Yeonwoo is having a full-blown panic attack. He has a massive fear of heights and did not sign up for this. Hanbit just grins and puts a hand on his shoulder. He's definitely going to take the bet. Yeonwoo sees that greasy look in Hanbit's eyes and knows he's already been sold out for the donation money. "Don't worry," Hanbit says. "You won't have to go bungee jumping." Yeonwoo isn't convinced. Hanbit tells him to just trust him. That smile is definitely the smile of someone about to do something crazy. Yeonwoo is still shaking. He doesn't like that sneaky look one bit. He keeps asking if Hanbit is for real. Bungee jumping isn't a joke to him. Hanbit just keeps reassuring him with that same suspicious, calm expression. He turns back to the camera and repeats it one more time. "Trust me." The two of them stand together, though only one of them is actually ready for the fight. Sword God adds another $1,000,001 to the mission. The viewers are calling their friendship amazing while they throw money at the chaos. The total prize money hits 1.8 million won. Hanbit is actually sweating a little now. That's a lot of money on the line. He double-checks the total. 1.8 million. That's enough to cover quite a bit of his real-world expenses. Balder stands there, silent and imposing. He doesn't care about the money or the stream. He just wants a duel. Hanbit tightens his grip on the wooden sword. It's time to show this master what a real veteran can do. Balder draws his own blade, and the air around them seems to crackle with tension. Hanbit leans forward, eyes locked on Balder. He's fully entered his combat trance. In an instant, Balder is gone, moving faster than the eye can follow. His footwork is perfect, kicking up dust as he closes the distance in a heartbeat. Balder launches himself at Hanbit like a bolt of lightning. The duel has officially begun. The duel is on. Hanbit grits his teeth as Balder's strike comes at him like a freight train. Balder's movement is a blur of speed and precision, kicking up dust in his wake. He comes down hard from above, swinging his sword with enough force to shatter stone. Yeonwoo is watching from the sidelines with his mouth wide open, completely terrified by the sudden intensity. Hanbit is pushed to his limits, the sheer wind pressure from the attack making it hard to breathe. He manages to catch the blow. The impact sends a shock through his entire body. "He held out," Yeonwoo screams, unable to believe Hanbit didn't just get flattened. Balder lets out a controlled breath, his expression becoming even more serious. He flows into a low, predatory stance, the air around him crackling with intent. Hanbit raises his sword again, his eyes sharp and analytical. He knows he can't afford a single mistake. They clash again, the wooden swords meeting with a loud crack that echoes across the training grounds. Hanbit is forced back by the sheer power of the master's strikes, but he stays on his feet. He notes that his movements feel dull compared to his past life, likely due to the low synchronization rate of his gear. He uses the momentum to slide back, creating some much-needed breathing room. He's thankful he at least picked up the swiftness skill earlier, or he'd be done for already. The tip of Balder's sword grazes the dirt as he prepares his next move. "You seem to have a lot on your mind," Balder observes, nodding Hanbit's cautious approach. The master asks if he's showing off his composure, or if he's just caught off guard by the situation. Hanbit flashes a cocky grin. "Isn't it the same for you?" he retorts, pushing the master's buttons. Balder's eyes narrow. He doesn't appreciate the trash talk from a mere beginner. "I'll end this quickly," Balder declares, lunging forward with even greater speed. Hanbit doesn't back down. We won't know that until the very end, he shouts back. They trade a series of rapid-fire blows, the air filled with the sounds of clashing wood and heavy breathing. Yeonwoo is practically screaming now, calling out to his brother as the duel reaches a fever pitch. He's stunned by how difficult a simple swordsmanship quest has turned out to be. He lets out a sigh of relief as Hanbit barely dodges another lethal-looking swing. The chat is going wild, praising the insane physics and intensity of the fight. Hanbit notices that Balder is starting to get anxious. The master expected this to be over by now. Because he's holding out better than expected, Balder is starting to force his moves. Balder swings with a powerful horizontal sweep, trying to catch Hanbit off balance. Hanbit catches the strike perfectly, his wooden sword holding firm against the master's might. Balder is genuinely surprised. He didn't think a beginner could read his timing like that. "Your movements have gotten bigger," Hanbit mocks, noticing the opening in Balder's form. They break apart with a sudden burst of speed, dust swirling around their feet. Balder's sword begins to glow with a strange, crackling energy. He's stepping it up. Hanbit's brow furrows. "That one was a bit dangerous," he admits to himself. Balder stomps his foot down, anchoring himself for a final, decisive strike. Hanbit also charged forward without a moment's hesitation. The master looks like a shadow demon as he unleashes his full aura on the young warrior. Hanbit focuses every ounce of his concentration on the incoming blade. It all comes down to this. The two wooden swords meet in a titanic clash that sounds like a thunderclap. The wood groans and begins to splinter under the immense pressure of the two fighters. With a deafening crack, Hanbit's wooden sword finally gives way, splintering into dozens of shards that arc through the bright afternoon sky. His body trembled under the sheer, overwhelming force of that final strike. But even then, a sly, cunning smirk began to spread across Hanbit's lips. Balder's eyes widen in genuine astonishment. He never truly expected a mere rookie to withstand the weight of his final strike. As the dust begins to settle, the master stands tall and silent, looking down at the young man who defied all odds. Splayed out on the ground and gasping for air, Hanbit triumphantly held up his fingers, reminding the viewers that he had successfully defended himself 4 times, exactly as promised. Mission accomplished. Hanbit's got that look of pure satisfaction on his face. He's flat on his back now, completely drained. The chat is losing it because they've never seen Balder lose his cool like that. The duel officially ends since the wooden sword snapped, but Hanbit's just lying there enjoying the win. Yeonwoo's already asking about the loot, but Hanbit tells him they'll settle up once the stream is over. He grabs Yeonwoo's arm just to make sure he's actually getting his cut. Yeonwoo promises him he's got it covered. Yeonwoo stands up and mentions how they first met back in the military. He puts a hand on Hanbit's shoulder, looking a bit suspicious. Then he gets right in Hanbit's face, demanding to know what he was doing before the army. He's suspecting some secret regression or reincarnation nonsense. Hanbit just plays it off like he did a bit of everything, while the chat starts guessing he was some kind of elite assassin. The chat asks if the MC gets all the mission money, and Yeonwoo confirms it. Hanbit thinks they should be splitting it, but Yeonwoo insists it's his reward for pulling that off with pure physical skill. He checks his status screen, just glad he didn't end up doing anything too crazy. Suddenly he realizes he might have miscalculated, and the chat starts clowning on him. A sword god drops a massive donation just to see more swordplay, so Yeonwoo goes into full-blown streamer thank you mode. Hanbit just looks away, probably already tired of the spotlight. Over by the trees, Balder is standing in a cloud of dust. Hanbit looks at him and can tell the guy is absolutely fuming. He's just standing there, but you can feel the rage radiating off him. Balder stares at the broken sword, probably feeling humiliated that a rookie read his every move. He asks if the duel is over, his face half hidden by his hat. He tells Hanbit to stay put and starts walking away. Hanbit's thinking whoever has to fight this guy next is in for a world of pain. But then Balder comes back and hands over a thick tome. It's a swordsmanship manual. That makes 4 unique grade skills for Hanbit in just 2 days. The rewards are insane. Max gold, 5 stat points, and a unique swordsmanship manual. The chat is going nuclear. Apparently, the server just crashed because of how rare those drops were. Another donation comes in with someone begging for private lessons. Hanbit just looks overwhelmed. He shoves Yeonwoo forward, telling him to handle the chat reactions while he gets back to work. Yeonwoo starts laughing and playing along, joking that he could probably teach some lessons too. Hanbit turns back to Balder. He knows there's usually more to a quest like this than just the loot. The two of them just stand there in silence for a moment. Balder reaches into his robe and mentions that his master has moved to a place called Edlin. He pulls out a cloth and tells Hanbit to show it to his master if they meet. He says it'll at least get the guy to listen to what he has to say. The cloth has a green sword mark on it. His master is apparently where the winds gather. Hanbit looks at the handkerchief, repeating the phrase to himself. He tells Yeonwoo it's time to head back to the city. Yeonwoo's still in the back doing reactions. A donation pops up saying everyone is flocking to Balder now, so the poor NPC is about to be very busy. They make it out under the open sky. Yeonwoo's still in shock that Balder actually had a master. This isn't the game he remembers at all. Hanbit finally hitting his limit and decides to call it a day, which catches Yeonwoo off guard. Hanbit stretches out his sore muscles, telling his friend he's gotta log off and get some sleep before work tomorrow. He hits the log off button while Yeonwoo asks if he'll be back on right after his shift. He's so wiped he can barely give a straight answer. The digital world dissolves into streaks of light. The VR gear powers down on his bed, still warm from the long session. Back in reality, Hanbit sits there soaked in sweat, wondering if he overdid it during that swordsmanship mission. His phone starts buzzing on the mattress beside him. It's a message from Yeonwoo with a thumbs-up cat sticker, saying he's sending the payment over right now. A bank notification pops up, 3 million won deposited. Hanbit thinks it could have waited, but the money is officially in his account. He stares at the screen, double-checking the zeros. 3 million won, just like that. His eyes about pop out of his head. His hand actually starts shaking. He can't believe they pulled in that much from donations in just 2 days. He reflects on his 10-hour playtime and starts questioning if he even needs to show up for his real-world job. He worked so hard to get back to this peaceful reality, yet here he is, already itching to dive back into the game world. He looks at the chat messages calling him a scammer and decides he should just keep streaming as a side gig. He thinks about how Yeonwoo has been looking out for him in so many ways. He shakes the thoughts away, telling himself to stay grounded because donations won't always be this huge. He tells himself a stable job is better for his mother's state of mind anyway. He smiles to himself, thinking it'll be nice to finally show her some support. Suddenly, the door bursts open with a loud bang. His mother's voice booms through the room. She's standing over him, yelling about him being in bed when it's already broad daylight outside. She points right at his phone's screen, demanding to know where all that money came from. Hanbit looks like a deer in headlights. The bank notification is still right there for her to see. 3 million won deposited. She gives him a sharp smack on the head, accusing him of doing something shady behind her back since he was up all night. He tries to shield himself, insisting he earned every bit of it legitimately. She doesn't buy it, suspecting gambling is the only way a kid makes that much money overnight. He reminds her about his friend Yeonwoo. He explains they played a game together, and the viewers liked it so much he ended up with a nice payout. He looks her in the eye and tells her she should know he'd never do anything illegal. She sighs, looking exhausted, and tells him they'll finish the talk once she gets home from her own shift. She tells him to get ready for work too, but he stays put, telling her he's being serious. She stops at the door and looks back, admitting she believes him but worries he's taking on too much of a burden. He watches her leave, the room finally quiet again. His gaze hardens. "Don't worry, Mom." He places a hand on the door, whispering to himself that she won't have to carry the family debt alone anymore. He promises to work himself to the bone so she can finally live comfortably. In the game, Yeonwoo is bent over catching his breath, realizing that actually playing is way harder than he thought. He admits he actually prefers being a spectator to getting in on the action. He tells Hanbit that he's the one who really shines in the world of RP. His eyes light up as he thinks about all the exciting moments ahead of them. He tells his friend he wants to be right there by his side to watch it all unfold. Hanbit thinks about how he wants to share the joy of the game world with everyone else. In the real world, Yeonwoo is seriously considering establishing an MCN centered around Hanbit. After surviving 55 regressions in another world, he finds the stresses of reality almost laughable in comparison. Or at least, that's what he wants to believe before his boss starts breathing down his neck. Being chewed out first thing in the morning by this guy is really starting to get under his skin. He's handed some complex documents, but after everything he's been through, they're surprisingly easy to grasp. He finds the technical contents perfectly organized and has no trouble making sense of them. Just as he's getting into his work, the boss calls him over for something else. The man treats him like a disposable trial version of an employee, finding any excuse to harass him. The boss flicks a card at him and tells him to go fetch some coffee. When he asks what kind of coffee he should get, the air in the room shifts. The man just clicks his tongue like he's dealing with an idiot. He snaps that everyone in the office drinks iced Americanos and wonders why Lee Min-ho hasn't taught him the basics yet. Hanbit stammers an apology, realizing he's just stepped into a trap. He knows the boss is just looking for an opening to take his frustration out on Lee Min-ho. It's a simple errand, but the weight of his boss's pettiness makes every step feel like lead. By the time he gets back, the team leader has already moved on to berating Lee Min-ho. Min-ho just takes the verbal abuse with a blank, hollow expression, like it's just another Tuesday. He doesn't even seem to have the energy to look angry. He tries to explain that he can't take on any more work with his current load. The boss just mocks him, saying he's gotten too big for his boots if he thinks he can start picking and choosing his tasks. In a fit of rage, the man sends documents flying all over the office. Amidst the shouting, Hanbit quietly places the coffee tray on the desk. Both of them drop to their knees to gather the scattered pages before things get even worse. The boss stalks off with his drink, casting one last hateful look over his shoulder. He mumbles a final insult under his breath as he goes. They finally get back to their seats, but the tension in the room is still thick. Min-ho's reflection shows eyes that are even emptier and darker than before. He quietly apologizes to Hanbit for letting him see such an ugly side of the workplace. Hanbit tries to play it cool, but Min-ho isn't just apologizing for the boss's mood. He explains that the new project the boss dumped on him is entirely on the development side. It's a massive undertaking that's going to eat up every second of his free time. Hanbit catches a glimpse of the papers and realizes the project is actually for RP. Min-ho confirms it's a gear-related project for the game that requires hours of hands-on testing. Hearing that it's a game he knows inside and out, Hanbit tells him he might actually be able to help. The long workday finally comes to an end as the sun begins to set. Hanbit steps out of the office building, finally free for the day. He's checking his messages as he heads toward the bus stop. Someone calls out to him from the crowd. He looks up from his phone, a bit startled to see a familiar face waiting for him. Yeonwoo is standing there with a huge grin, asking if his shift went well. Hanbit can barely keep his eyes open after the rough day he's had. Hanbit leans back in his seat, groaning about how society and work are just a massive pain. He slumps onto the table, his energy completely depleted, and asks Yeonwoo what was so important that they had to meet. Yeonwoo pulls out his phone with a flourish, eager to show Hanbit something exciting. He proudly displays his screen, showing a long list of messages and recruitment offers from various companies following their last stream. One specific offer from Yeonwoo Gaming catches Hanbit's eye with a staggering starting salary of 100 million won. Yeonwoo chatters away excitedly, telling Hanbit that everyone is desperate to sign him and he should pick the best company. Instead of being happy, Hanbit's face darkens, and he gives Yeonwoo an intense, frightening stare that makes the younger boy freeze. Hanbit leans forward, slamming his hands on the table as he demands that Yeonwoo stop hiding his true feelings. Yeonwoo recoils in shock, stammering that he isn't hiding anything, but Hanbit isn't buying the lie for a second. Hanbit stands up and looms over Yeonwoo with a twisted, menacing grin, asking if he truly wants his friend to go off and join a giant corporation. Terrified by the sudden shift in Hanbit's demeanor, Yeonwoo waves his hands frantically, trying to explain himself. Without mercy, Hanbit reaches out and starts roughly massaging Yeonwoo's head, ignoring his cries of pain. A loud scream of agony echoes out from the coffee shop and into the evening sky. Yeonwoo hunches over the table, sobbing and clutching his sore head as he complains about Hanbit being too mean. He admits through tears that he only suggested the job because he knew Hanbit was struggling financially and wouldn't accept charity. Hanbit softens his expression, telling Yeonwoo that he truly appreciates the gesture and the amazing salary offer. He looks Yeonwoo in the eye and reminds him that it was his idea for the two of them to play the game together in the first place. He tells Yeonwoo that what his friend wants to do is more important than any job offer, leaving Yeonwoo speechless. Yeonwoo looks down, confessing that while RP is a massive hit, the high-stakes adventure doesn't really feel like a good fit for him. Back in the real world, Yeonwoo has a big idea. He wants to start an agency centered entirely around Hanbit. Instead of some stiff corporate office, he pictures it more like a guild that connects the game with reality. Hanbit just smiles. It's the same stuff Yeonwoo used to ramble about when they were in the military. Hanbit asks the real question, how exactly are they supposed to make money with this? Yeonwoo pulls out his phone with a grin. Turns out, the ad revenue from their recent stream is way higher than they expected. Their videos are trending at the very top of the platform, and Hanbit is officially the most talked-about player on the server. Yeonwoo imagines a future where a whole army of fans follows their every move in the game. He's dead serious about growing the channel and asks Hanbit what he thinks. He even offers to make Hanbit a co-CEO, promising to do all the heavy lifting while Hanbit focuses on playing. A waitress drops off their order. Hanbit agrees to help out, telling Yeonwoo he'll make sure the business does well. He's not just doing this for his friend, though. Hanbit has his own agenda. He sees this as his final chance to reach Airport and uncover the secrets of the world. Looking at his reflection in the coffee, he wonders if clearing the game will finally give him the answers he needs. He needs to know why he was forced to die over and over again in his previous lives. Suddenly, the table starts buzzing. Yeonwoo's phone is blowing up with notifications. Yeonwoo reaches for it, looking a bit confused by the sudden activity. He's shocked by the sheer number of messages flooding in all at once. At first, he laughs it off, thinking this is just what happens when you get famous. Then he actually reads them. His face pales. Something is definitely wrong. He frantically tries to make a call, but no one is picking up on the other end. He's panicking now. Hanbit leans in, asking him what's going on. Yeonwoo brings up that elite advance party they saw earlier, the one with the golden bow. They're part of a massive German corporation called Returnee, and they've made a big move. Returnee has declared a monopoly on the local quests, and now all the monsters in the area have mysteriously vanished. Worse yet, rumors are spreading that Hanbit and Yeonwoo are secretly working for Returnee to help them take over. In the game, players are losing their minds, calling Hanbit a scammer for selling them out. The community is turning on them fast. People feel betrayed by the Black Dragon. Nearby, a female player looks at her quest reward book. She managed to get a rare tier, but she's not happy. Her partner is fuming. He can't believe the quest rewards are now on a first-come, first-served basis. The two of them start bickering, realizing that Returnee is behind the sudden drop in reward quality. Yeonwoo insists they need to go live immediately to explain themselves and clear their names. Hanbit goes quiet, thinking. He asks just how big this Returnee corporation really is. Yeonwoo explains that their power is tied to their players. They have an elite ranger with a combat power of 9,000. But Hanbit isn't intimidated. He says there's a simple way to solve this. He tells Yeonwoo to hold off on the broadcast for today because there's something he needs to check first. Hanbit calmly sips his coffee while Yeonwoo stares at him, completely lost. That night, Hanbit is back home, focused on a plan. He starts flipping through his secret guidebook at lightning speed. He scans the pages, looking for a specific detail that everyone else has missed. A smirk plays across his lips. He found it. With the guidebook in hand, Hanbit realizes Returnee has made a massive strategic mistake. He steps back into the game, ready to turn the tables on the entire corporation. Hanbit teleports back into the game, ready to track down the source of the problem. He heads straight for a hidden cave, the exact location he remembers from his past. As he expected, the bomb slimes are all clumped together inside. He has to move carefully to avoid a premature explosion. His boots crunch on the rocky ground as he navigates around the glowing green creatures. He keeps his hand on his sword, ready for anything. He knows there's only one reason why all these monsters would gather in a single spot like this. In the center of the mass, he finds exactly what he was looking for. It's the Bomb Slime King, a level 7 elite monster. The king has a natural trait that attracts normal slimes, but the number of monsters here is way too high for it to be natural. There has to be another reason for this massive swarm. He spots a faint glint coming from the cave wall. It's a monster lure, a specialized item used to aggregate mobs. Looking closer, he sees that the lure literally has the name Rashton written on it. This is their smoking gun. The corporation used this rare item to clear out the fields and monopolize the kills for themselves. By placing it right next to the Slime King, they created an endless loop of monsters gathering in one place. Hanbit decides to give them a taste of their own medicine. He steps forward and starts casting. He launches a single fireball right into the middle of the explosive crowd. The impact triggers a chain reaction that completely wipes out the room. A massive explosion tears through the cave as thousands of bomb slimes detonate at once. The blast is so intense it completely fills the cavern. When the smoke clears, nothing is left but dust and debris. System messages flood his screen. He just gained a massive amount of experience and a new title, Adversary of the Bomb Slime. Even Hanbit is stunned. He can't believe just how many slimes Rashton had managed to cram into that one spot. A random post on the gaming forum starts blowing up, everyone asking where the bomb slimes vanished to. A leaked video shows a hidden cave packed with monsters, along with a Rashton logo shield left at the scene. Yeonwoo watches the drama unfold from his computer, satisfied after leaking the footage anonymously. The comment section is a total war zone, with players everywhere trashing Rashton for their dirty tactics. Hanbit pulls out his special guidebook to see what else he can find. He finds a note about an NPC named Zentromer, a miner who apparently dug that cave and then lost it. The entrance was tucked away, far from the usual hunting grounds. Knowing the miner existed made it easy for Hanbit to pinpoint the exact location. But there was something strange about the information in the book. The records were incredibly detailed, yet they completely skipped over the existence of the cave itself. It makes him wonder just how much the author, Adventurer A, was actually hiding. Some of the entries are perfect, while other parts are just flat-out wrong. It feels like some of the most critical details were intentionally scrubbed out. Hanbit heads deeper into the woods, thinking about the gaps in the world's knowledge. Then there's the magic system. Most players won't even touch it because of the insane grind. Maxing out proficiency is a brutal process that usually drives people to give up. Most end up quitting magic entirely just to find a path that isn't so exhausting. But for Hanbit, the normal rules don't seem to apply at all. Yeonwoo just couldn't wrap his head around how someone could hit 100% proficiency in a single day. Hanbit, on the other hand, just laughed it off like it was nothing. He clings to Hanbit's arm, begging him to say he's just pulling some late April Fool's prank. Hanbit just shrugs it off, acting like it's no big deal since it's just rank 1. Yeonwoo screams for proof, convinced his friend is messing with him. So Hanbit pulls up his status window, revealing a list of unique skills all at 100%. The proof hits Yeonwoo like a truck, sending him straight to the ground in shock. He starts weeping with excitement, convinced they've discovered some kind of massive bug. Hanbit watches his friend's mental breakdown with a look of pure awkwardness. He tells him not to mention the proficiency thing on stream just yet. He's got something way more entertaining planned for the corporate villains first. A crowd of players is already gathering, looking like they've won before the fight even starts. But a sudden flash of light signals that the show is about to begin. Yeonwoo kicks off his stream with a big smile, greeting the audience as the chat starts exploding. He gets straight to the point, making it clear they have zero connection to Rashton. The viewers are already starting to switch sides as they wait for the promised proof. On the live feed, Hanbit is at a shop counter, preparing for his next move. He asks Atsubal about Rhea, nodding that she ran off again. The shopkeeper just sighs, clearly used to the girl not listening to a word she says. Hanbit laughs, telling her to take it easy on a kid that age. Atsubal looks at him, her expression softening as she listens. She gives him a sincere thanks, appreciating the support. Then Hanbit casually asks if he can learn the next spell. The stream chat starts mocking him, calling him a newbie for even trying. But Atsubal just laughs heartily and tells him he absolutely can, leaving everyone in shock. Atsubal hands over the second magic book, ready for him to start the next part of the quest. The system pings with a new objective. Learn the spell within the book to earn a heroic rank reward. The stream chat is already buzzing. Some are unimpressed by a heroic reward, while others warn him to hurry before a big guild swoops in. Hanbit takes the book with a calm expression, seemingly unbothered by the sudden pressure. Outside, a crowd of players from the Ration Corporation is already hovering around the shop like vultures. Without wasting a second, he flips the cover open to begin the learning process. Light erupts from the pages as the knowledge begins to transfer directly to his mind. Since he's the first person to ever clear it, the system upgrades his reward from heroic all the way to unique. Yeonwoo practically screams the news to the stream, celebrating Hanbit's massive level jump and his new top-tier spell. The viewers are green with envy, watching him complete a set of unique rank skills that most players can only dream of. Atsubal points him toward his next destination, a research lab in the city of Ifrit, before he prepares to leave. He thanks her and steps out onto the wooden porch, ready to face the waiting crowd. As the doors swing open, Hanbit and Yeonwoo find themselves staring down a small army of players. The Ration players have the entire area locked down, clearly waiting for their turn to seize the quest. Leading them is the unknown ranger, a man in a brown hooded cloak and a bird-like mask, his eyes glowing with an elite intensity. The sheer number of high-level players is enough to make any normal person turn around and hide in fear. Hanbit remained calm, but he warned the hooded ranger that his scary face might only make the situation worse. Hanbit just smirks, secretly hoping that the corporate group falls right into the trap he's laid. Inside the shop, the Ration group is aggressively demanding their own copies of the magic book. The crowd outside is massive, with everyone talking about how ruthless these corporate players can be to get what they want. Hanbit and Yeonwoo take a seat nearby, watching the greed of the advance party reach a fever pitch. Yeonwoo asks what kind of show he has planned, but Hanbit just asks him if he sees the real difference between him and them. The hooded ranger gathers his team, telling everyone to open their books on the count of 3. Hanbit starts the countdown, his voice steady and full of confidence. He whispers for Yeonwoo to watch closely as the countdown begins for the corporate bullies. The tension in the air is thick as he hits the next number in the count. The Ration players flip their books open at the exact same time, expecting a power boost. Hanbit smiles, it's showtime. Suddenly, the books burst into massive pillars of flame, engulfing the players in fire. They scream in agony as their items burn up, while the chat wonders why this is only happening to the Ration group. One of the players is completely covered in flames that just won't go out no matter how much she panics. Atsubal stands behind her counter with a chilling smile, watching the chaos unfold inside her shop. She doesn't hesitate to yell for all the burning players to get out of her establishment. The Ration members collapse to their knees, screaming that their entire investment had vanished into thin air in a heartbeat. Hanbit finds the whole situation hilarious, knowing exactly why their books turned into traps instead of teaching them spells. The stream audience is having the time of their lives, watching the corporate giants get humbled so publicly. One of them pointed at the quest window, realizing in horror that the rewards had been drastically slashed. Because Hanbit took the first clear, everyone else is now stuck with a measly rare rank reward instead of heroic. The chat realizes that Ration's greed ended up screwing over every other player who comes after them. The hooded ranger asks if even a single one of them succeeded, but the answer is a flat 0. He stands there in stunned silence, staring at the ash left behind by their failed attempt. Yeonwoo spots the ranger walking toward them and panics, signaling Hanbit that trouble is headed their way. The stream chat is already predicting a confrontation, mocking the high-ranking ranger for trying to bully a newbie after such an embarrassing and public failure. Hanbit keeps his arms crossed and maintains a cocky smirk, while Yeonwoo stands behind him, visibly trembling as the ranger looms over them with an intimidating presence. The unknown ranger stares Hanbit down through his bird-like mask, his voice cold and threatening as he demands a talk with the man who just humiliated his entire team. A hooded ranger from the Rashton advance party steps up, demanding a word with Hanbit. Hanbit looks back with a smirk, asking what could possibly be on his mind. The guy gets straight to the point. He wants to know why Hanbit was the only one who succeeded. Hanbit just shrugs him off, telling the veterans they should be able to figure that out themselves. The ranger is fuming, but the stream chat is already clowning on his reaction. He explains that 50 of their best failed, and now they've lost their chance at a hero-grade reward. The ranger keeps complaining, blaming Hanbit for the fact that other players can't even try the quest anymore. Hanbit finds the whole situation hilarious, while Yeonwoo nervously tries to keep the peace. The viewers are loving the bad attitude, noting how the ranger is just digging a deeper hole. The guy is visibly losing his cool, his face twisting with rage. Hanbit drops a truth bomb. Did they even bother to max out their proficiency? He points out that proficiency is the absolute core of ranking up in this game. The ranger looks genuinely confused, like he's never heard of common sense before. Hanbit explains that you have to master a skill like Fireball before you can move on to anything better. The guy starts shouting, claiming that everyone knows that, but Hanbit shouldn't have gotten the reward either. Hanbit casually mentions that he actually maxed his out before finishing the quest. The ranger is completely stunned, left speechless by the revelation. Since the guy doesn't believe him, Hanbit offers to just pull up his stats for the entire stream to see. He admits he's starting to doubt these guys are actually top-tier players if they missed something so obvious. He flashes his skills set on the screen, showing every single one of them marked with a gold star. The chat goes wild, with half the viewers calling hacks because maxing skills in one day is supposed to be impossible. The ranger loses his mind and threatens to report him, but Hanbit doesn't even flinch. He mocks the guy for such a childish provocation, suggesting it's the ranger who has something to hide. The stream is eating up every second of the roast, enjoying the absolute humiliation. The hooded guy is literally gnashing his teeth with frustration. He stomps off with a final threat, while Hanbit tells him to try playing honestly for once. The tavern door swings open with a violent thud. The ranger roared at his subordinates, barking orders for them to get back to work, while the corporate lackeys were busy hounding the shopkeeper to hand over their rewards. Hanbit remembers her clearly as a master who had zero tolerance for greed or shortcuts. She wanted her students to build their skills quietly and earn their qualifications the hard way. She's shown scolding a younger Hanbit who went by Hobing Hwan, reminding him that magic is math. She had seen too many people die in the past because they tried to rush into things they weren't ready for. She made it clear that no new spells would be taught until his basics were absolutely perfect. Hanbit admits that back then, his impatience and greed eventually got him kicked out. It turns out Atsubul's personality and strict principles didn't change at all, even within the game's AI. Back in the present day, Hanbit and Yeonwoo make their way down the road. Yeonwoo thinks he might have been a bit too harsh on the Rashton guys back there. He's worried they're going to get flamed, since that corporation has such a massive fan base. Hanbit just laughs it off, giving him a thumbs up and saying he wasn't the one doing the fighting anyway. The stream chat is already officially declaring Rashton as their main enemy for the season. Hanbit starts messing with Yeonwoo, reminding him that it's his stream channel that's going to take the heat. Donations keep rolling in as the viewers celebrate a satisfying end to the confrontation. Yeonwoo is in high spirits, laughing and thanking the stream for the donations as they walk. They're heading toward the village, and Hanbit suggests a pit stop at the local shop first, which confuses Yeonwoo. Hanbit just tells him there's some stuff they need to prep before they can head to Master Balder. The town square is packed with people, all buzzing about something big happening near the clock tower. Yeonwoo spots the commotion and points it out, but Hanbit is completely out of the loop. Yeonwoo realizes his Hyung really doesn't know what's going on and starts to explain the situation. Hanbit watches the crowd, waiting to see what all the fuss is about. Yeonwoo points out a woman in a green robe. It's Rafina, a high-ranking elementalist. The stream chat is already exploding with excitement, seeing as they're getting a look at two famous rankers today. Rafina looks every bit the superstar, and her fans in the chat are losing their minds over her appearance. Hanbit just observes her, looking pretty unimpressed compared to the frantic crowd. He's curious about how many elementalists there are, since being chosen by a spirit is supposed to be rare. The viewers are debating just how hard it is to even meet a spirit, let alone actually control one. To Hanbit, the whole concept of spirits in this world feels a bit different from what he remembers from before. He flashes back to the moment he first communed with a spirit, a memory that's still burned into his mind. He stares at his hand for a second, lost in his own thoughts. Coming back to reality, he asks Yeonwoo just how strong this Rafina girl actually is. Yeonwoo says she's a vanguard in the top 4,000, specialized in water magic, which confuses Hanbit since he thought she was an elementalist. Yeonwoo explains that her title is mostly honorary, since her spirit skills have been stuck at rank 3 for a long time. The chat chimes in, nodding that spirit skills are rare but generally too weak to use as a primary combat style. Despite the limitations, Rafina is still a monster with rank 6 magic, and she's about to give the crowd a show. Yeonwoo asks if Hanbit is interested in spirits too, but Hanbit's just focused on how they work. As Rafina begins to pray, Hanbit knows that spirits operate on a completely different level than regular magic. Blue light begins to swirl around her as she focuses her energy for the manifestation. Tiny spirits appear in the square, floating around and delighting the crowd with their ethereal glow. Hanbit asks if her success was really just down to innate talent, as everyone says. Yeonwoo confirms it. She supposedly mastered both water and wind spirits in just 6 months, which is unheard of. A water spirit swirls gracefully through the air as part of the performance. Beside it, a green wind spirit takes form, dancing through the breeze with incredible speed. It's a rare dual-attribute manifestation, with the two spirits holding hands as they circle around Rafina. The display is blindingly bright, and the chat is absolutely worshipping her for the blessed view. People in the stream are practically making wishes, desperate for a chance to have a spirit of their own. Even Yeonwoo is completely starstruck, while Hanbit admits it's a flashy show that clearly sells well to the public. The spirits begin to fade back into the ether as the performance comes to a close. Hanbit asks how long she's been stuck at rank 3, and Yeonwoo says it's been about 10 months because she can't fill the proficiency. As Rafina waves goodbye to her fans, Hanbit realizes that proficiency isn't her real problem here. The chat is begging her not to go, completely captivated by the show she just put on. Yeonwoo wonders if she's the #1 elementalist, though he notes that real top vanguards are very secretive with their info. In a game like this, having the right information is a powerful weapon for anyone trying to claim ownership of it. Rafina disappears through the village gate, leaving the crowd wanting more. Hanbit watches her go, feeling a strange sense of kinship with someone who has also communed with spirits. But there's no time to dwell. Hanbit is ready to head to the shop and prepare for their next big quest. Hanbit gives a mysterious smile, holding a finger to his lips as he tells Yeonwoo that he'll just have to wait and see what he's got planned once they arrive. Yeonwoo's already having second thoughts. He just spent a fortune on gear he doesn't understand, and now they're standing in the middle of nowhere. Hanbit stops and looks back with a knowing smirk. This is the place. Yeonwoo looks ahead and his jaw drops. He definitely didn't sign up for this. They're standing on the edge of a sheer drop known as where the wind gathers. To Hanbit, it's an entrance, but to Yeonwoo, it looks like a one-way trip to the afterlife. A new quest window flashes on screen. Find the wind swordsman hidden within the forest. Success could mean learning a legendary technique. The stream chat is already blowing up, sensing the chaos that's about to unfold. Hanbit casually suggests they just jump. The viewers are calling it romance and adventure, but they aren't the ones standing over a bottomless pit. Yeonwoo stares into the abyss, convinced Hanbit has finally lost his mind. Jumping without a cord isn't adventure, it's suicide. He tries to back away, pleading with his partner to find literally any other way down. Hanbit doesn't say a word. He just gives Yeonwoo that shifty-eyed look that screams trouble. A heavy hand lands on Yeonwoo's shoulder. There's no running away now. Yeonwoo starts panicking. He reminds Hanbit that even in a game, the sensation of pain is very real, and this is going to hurt a lot. Hanbit doesn't wait for him to finish. He takes the leap, dragging a screaming Yonwoo right over the edge. They plummet through the air. Yonwoo is busy losing his mind while Hanbit looks like he's just out for a casual stroll. The chat is losing it. They've never seen a streamer use his partner as a human bungee cord before. The fall seems to go on forever. Even the viewers are starting to wonder if there's actually a bottom to this cliff. Hanbit spots the target area. Yonwoo has already passed out from the sheer terror of it all. A massive blue magic circle glows at the base of the canyon. They've reached the hidden entrance. The admission gate pulses with energy as they hit the trigger point. Hanbit sticks the landing like it's nothing. Yonwoo faceplants into the ground, taking a point of damage for his trouble. Hanbit checks to see if his partner is still in one piece. Yonwoo just groans, barely able to process that he's alive. Yonwoo admits he really thought he was a goner. Hanbit just brushes it off, mission accomplished. Word reaches the stream that over 300 players who tried to follow them just plummeted to their deaths. They didn't realize there was a catch. Hanbit reveals the secret, an admission ticket. You can't just jump blindly without the right quest item. Yonwoo points toward the top of the canyon. Hanbit smiles at the camera, promising a bigger reveal once more people fall for his bait. The viewers are calling him a devil, but they can't stop watching. Hanbit's strategy is as cold as it is effective. Deep inside the Crystal Canyon, a lone figure sits atop a distant peak. That's their target. Yonwoo realizes that's the Wind Swordsman. He thinks the worst is over and they can just walk right up. He's suddenly full of energy, eager to get this mission finished. Hanbit stops him and suggests Yonwoo go first. He claims it's for the broadcast angle, so Yonwoo can get the glory. Yonwoo is genuinely touched. He thinks Hanbit is finally treating him like a real partner. Hanbit gives him a gentle push toward the path. He's being very helpful all of a sudden. Yonwoo charges ahead, waving to the viewers and feeling like the star of the show. Suddenly, a spear shoots out from the wall and grazes right past him. The viewers start spamming question marks in the chat, completely lost as to what's happening. Yonwoo freezes, his face going pale. He almost just lost his head to a hidden blade. The chat is in stitches. They realize Hanbit didn't care about the angle. He just used Yonwoo to find where the traps were hidden. Yonwoo yells at him for being a total snake. Hanbit just shrugs it off. Hey, he didn't die, so it's fine. The stream is split between feeling bad for Yonwoo and admiring Hanbit's ruthless efficiency. Hanbit doesn't wait for the next trap to trigger. He pulls out a bow and prepares to clear the path himself. He takes aim with absolute focus. He knows exactly where every hidden mechanism is. An arrow flies right past Yonwoo's ear, disabling another trap before it can launch. Hanbit isn't guessing. He's memorized the whole gauntlet. Yonwoo is officially terrified. He's staring at the spot where a trap just went off, wondering if Hanbit actually cares if he lives or dies. The stream chat is having a field day, telling Yonwoo he better start apologizing to Hanbit before things get even worse. Before he can even finish a sentence, more spears whistle through the air from every direction. Yonwoo barely has time to flinch. This place is a literal death trap. Hanbit doesn't miss a beat. He calls out for them to keep moving, charging ahead as if he's just taking a shortcut through a park. He casually mentions he fired those arrows ahead of time because he had a feeling there were more traps. Yonwoo is just shaking in his boots, wondering how many more feelings Hanbit is going to have. Suddenly, the ground starts shaking. Yonwoo feels the vibration and knows something big is coming. A massive boulder drops from the ceiling, blocking their only path forward. Yonwoo screams at the top of his lungs. The canyon walls are too narrow, there's nowhere to run and nowhere to hide. Hanbit just smirks and tells him there's no need to dodge. He's got this. He points his hand toward the falling rock and shouts, "Fire burst." The boulder is blown to pieces in a massive explosion. Yonwoo is stunned that Hanbit just dropped the floor out from under a mountain. The chat is calling it madness. They can't believe the sheer power and control Hanbit is showing off. Hanbit gives the camera a sinister little smile. He knows exactly how impressive he looks right now. He keeps the pace up, telling Yonwoo to stop lagging behind. Yonwoo just tries to keep up, begging his partner to wait for him. They're sprinting through a hail of projectiles now. It's like the forest itself is trying to spear them. Hanbit doesn't even slow down. He's moving with a precision that's almost inhuman, blocking and weaving through the chaos. Every arrow that gets close is deflected effortlessly. The viewers are starting to wonder if Hanbit has some kind of legendary ancestry with how good his physical stats are. Yeonwoo checks their supplies and panics. They're completely out of arrows. Hanbit doesn't seem worried. He reaches for his sword, ready to switch tactics. He tells Yeonwoo to stay sharp and watch their backs while he clears the way with cold steel. Yeonwoo takes over the commentary, excitedly telling the stream how Hanbit is now deflecting arrows with just his sword. The chat, however, is already bored with his play-by-play. They can see the exit now. Yeonwoo shouts that they're almost through the gauntlet. More traps trigger, swinging axes and flying blades. But Hanbit's sword is a blur of blue light as he parries every single one. Suddenly, Hanbit yells for Yeonwoo to stop dead in his tracks. A split second later, a spear erupts from the ground right where Yeonwoo was about to step. Yeonwoo is shaking, realizing he was a hair's breadth away from being skewered. Hanbit just tells him to keep his guard up until they're actually out. Yeonwoo is genuinely curious now. He asks how Hanbit could possibly know exactly when and where to dodge. The chat is making jokes about Hanbit having the visual acuity of a cat, but the truth is much more grim. He didn't just know, it's muscle memory. Another boulder drops and Yeonwoo loses it again. Hanbit destroys it with another fire burst, not even breaking his stride. He lets out a sigh of relief. They've finally reached the end of the trap-filled corridor. Yeonwoo is exhausted, asking how much further they have to go. Hanbit stops and simply says, "We're here." Hanbit looks up toward a high crystalline peak. Yeonwoo is still skeptical, but he follows Hanbit's gaze. High above them, sitting on the edge of a rock, is the white-haired wind swordsman. He looks like a statue in the middle of a storm. Yeonwoo is suddenly full of hope. He thinks they've made it and it's time to finally claim their reward. But the master doesn't even look at them. He just delivers a cold, two-word dismissal. Go back. The stream chat is laughing at the sudden rejection. After all that effort, they're being told to just turn around. Yeonwoo looks like he's about to cry. He asks Hanbit if they really did all that work just to be kicked out the moment they arrived.